back to the pecan pie from HSMC
It is
and then
gonna
I'll
be,
give
like,
you money
least.
at like I don't know graduation or something for the.
That works.
Is there like a cap and gown for graduation?
Yes.
We lost.
We picked those up on Friday. And it's in my
Wait, can you
locker.
call this some Samuel?
Ezra got in for though. We did Ezra.
Is there a
Who
hood?
That? I don't know who that
I
is.
don't know.
No, there is not a hood. Yeah. You got a hood.
Ready
Is
to
it the long
our
hood
first
or the
game of
shorter?
afternoon, guys?
Samuel, just tell me how much I owe you, because I know I owe you for the pie and the pizza and also the
Oh,
Because
marshmallow.
the doctorates
Oh,
have one
that's
that
probably
gets like
my-
nearly to their.
Let
card.
us
I do.
get
It's definitely
rolling.
something. That's my like.
Shut up.
Welcome back
Earbuds.
to, what is this, round 15 of the 2025 PACE NSC. I have Montgomery, Blair A, and Hunter A.
Thank you.
Yay.
Woo indeed. Oh no, my name's fell down. I am Rob Carson. I will
Like the
be
monster
your
from
moderator
Marshall.
for this match. I'm a PACE member emeritus, and I do Quiz Bowl. Excellent. Both teams ready to begin?
Sure.
Sure.
What's up? Yes. Start over here, test your buzzer, and give us your name and whatever else you want to say.
Hi, I'm Bugan, and I'm in 11th grade.
I'm Arjun. I'm also in 11th grade.
I'm Justin. I'm a junior.
And I'm Sophia, and I'm also a junior.
It's Montgomery Blair. I have Hunter A.
I'm Maggie. I'm a senior.
I'm June. I'm a junior.
I'm Evan. I'm a senior.
And Theo, I'm this round's token sophomore.
Every round's token sophomore.
It's important to have diversity on the stage.
Oh, yeah.
These are DA I hire.
Both teams ready to begin?
Yeah.
Great. Good luck. We'll start with toss-up number 1. A physicist who worked in this city named a society whose left wing attempted to apply its scientific world conception to all aspects of life. A philosopher who worked in the city wrote the logical structure of the world and argued for the elimination of metaphysics as part of the verification.
Vienna.
Buzz.
Nice.
20 points. And your bonus. 60 nobles drowned in liquid excrement in the Erfurt latrine disaster during an assembly called by a king of this name and regnal number. 10 points each. Give both the name and regnal number of the king against whom Jack Cade revolted and who assumed power during the Great Bullion Famine.
Oh shoot. It's I don't know.
Is it a Frederick? I don't know.
Friedrich the Second.
Henry VI.
Oh.
Germany and England. The former Henry VI married Constance of this kingdom, which he tried to invade. Based on a Mediterranean island, this kingdom was unified with Naples after Napoleon's defeat.
Sicily.
Yes. That assembly in Erfurt was called to settle a feud after the defeat of another man named Henry who had this epithet. A king with this epithet was the victorious commander at the 1192 Battle of Jaffa.
Oh, the Conqueror.
The lion, or lion-hearted,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
are not the same epithet.
What are we doing?
10 of the bonus. Toss-up 2. Edward Morse's excavation of a mound of these objects at Omori kick-started Japanese archaeology. They're not pebbles, but these objects were tied to wood to represent islands on Polynesian stick charts. The word porcelain comes from an Italian word for these objects. Imported examples of these objects devalued the Nzimbu ones harvested from Luanda for use by the Kingdom of Congo. These objects were thrown to the ground in a West African tradition for divination.
Bones.
One more time?
Bones.
No.
No.
Native Americans made wampum beads from these objects. The classical Chinese character for money was an image of these objects, which were harvested in the Indian Ocean from cowries. For 10 points, name these hard objects harvested from clams and conchas.
Shells.
Yes, for 10. And your bonus. This book was followed by 6 sequels, including Singin' and Swingin' and Gettin' Merry Like Christmas, and All God's Children Need Travelin' Shoes. 10 points each. Name this book, whose title is taken from the poem Sympathy. In this book, a girl moves from Stamps, Arkansas to San Francisco and becomes a cable car conductor.
I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
Yes, the memoir I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings was written by this author.
By Angelou.
Angela's correct. Description acceptable. In I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Maya performs this action after being raped by Mama's boyfriend, Mr. Freeman. She stops this action after having tea with Mrs. Bertha Flowers, who teaches her lessons in living.
Being mute.
30 points. Good work.
Nice.
Toss-up 3. Jean-Pierre Serre's epsilon conjecture connected work by this mathematician to a 1957 conjecture via an object named for Gerhard Frey. A non-conjectural statement named for Goldbach gives the coprimality of numbers named for this mathematician. A primality test that relies on a statement given by this mathematician fails on Carmichael numbers, which are this mathematician's pseudoprimes. Euler's Totient theorem generalizes a statement by the...
Fermat.
10 points.
Nice.
Nice.
And your bonus, Hunter. All that is known about Simeon I of Bulgaria's youngest son, Bayan, is that he could turn himself into one of these beings, according to Liutprand of Cremona. 10 points each. Name these beings who are vulnerable to silver bullets, and who
Werewolf.
transform every full moon.
Werewolf.
This author contrasted the Norman French word garvalf with the Breton name of a kindly werewolf in her poem Bisclavre. She adapted part of the romance of Tristan and Isolde in her poem Chèvrefoile.
No. Rossetti.
Marie de France. Spectral wolves that guide souls to the underworld called Kun Anun feature in many tales from this four-branched collection of folklore, whose characters include Rhiannon and Pwyll.
Oh wait, that's the
That's the Welsh thing, right?
That's the Welsh Mabinogi. Mabinogion or whatever.
Good one. Nice.
You got it. 20 points.
I only know Rhiannon from Fleetwood Mac.
2004, this modern-day country titles a highly geometric rendition of a Lancaster grain elevator by Charles de Muth. Edmonia Lewis depicted an ancient leader of this country dead on a throne. Some of the best surviving examples of Roman painting are funerary portraits on wooden boards in this.
Like Egypt.
20 points.
Nice.
And your bonus. Great bonus. These structures can be pigmented red-brown by Protoporphyrin 9 or blue-green by Biliverdin. And points each name these structures that remain pigmented in some archosaurs. Pigmentation of these structures may provide camouflage and is often accompanied by speckled patterning.
What if it's like the
Scales?
These structures of scales.
Scales.
Scales?
Eggshells.
Oh.
Egg color co-evolved with this task, whose contact type may have motivated the structured clutches of oviraptorosaurs. Premature infants are kept in warm, clear boxes that perform this task.
Wow.
Nice.
Incubation.
Yes. Biliverdin caused the blue-green coloration of the eggs of this terrible clawed raptor. John Ostrom used this theropod to spark the warm-blooded dinosaur renaissance.
Oh.
Is this the one from Jurassic Park?
Answer.
Tyrannosaurus.
Deinonychus.
No.
His terrible
Thinking of
claw.
Robin.
10
So.
on the bonus. Puzzle 5. One of this language's 3 classics authors wrote a story in which a heavenly court reviews the sufferings of a man dubbed the Silent. An author whose pen name came from this language's phrase for peace be upon you created a protagonist who blows a small fortune after 2 women pay him to take them through a forest on his wagon. In a story in this language, a man learns from his dying wife that their children all resulted from affairs shortly before the spirit of evil tells him to urinate into his...
Yiddish.
For 10.
Oh.
Yiddish is correct, and your bonus. In this piece's third movement, improvisatory piano arpeggios lead to a clarinet solo marked Come in Sogno, or As If in a Dream. 10 points each. Name this piece whose first movement's main theme is played by high cellos, bassoons, and English horn in 2/8 time. This piece's last movement requires 6 ancient trumpets called buccine.
I don't know.
Answer.
Fantastic Swan Lake.
Pines of Rome. This conductor analyzed the unique orchestration of Pines of Rome in The Anatomy of a Symphony Orchestra, one of his televised young people's concerts. This conductor of the New York Philharmonic wrote the music to West Side Story.
That's from Bernstein. Bernstein.
Pines of Rome is a piece by this composer of ancient airs and dances.
Respighi.
Yes, 20 points. Nice. 6. This politician chastised 2 ministers who refused to stand to honor the death of black work victim Satnam Singh. This politician, who once went by the IRC handle Kirri, invited Rishi Sunak to the 2023 Atreyu Festival, named after the hero of the never-ending story. As a youth, this politician participated in the Tolkien-inspired Hobbit camps of the MSI. This politician, the only EU leader invited to the 2025 Trump inauguration, ended the citizenship income program initiated by the 5-star...
Maloney.
10 points.
Oh. That makes sense.
A bonus in a story titled for one of these arrangements, the bourgeois Isabel runs to her room out of shame after reading a letter out loud to her bohemian friends. 10 points each. Name these arrangements. Ngugi wa Thiong'o and co-writer Ngugi wa Mirie were arrested for writing a play titled for entering one of these arrangements, When I Want.
Marriage.
Yeah, so I will marry when I want. The aforementioned Marriage a la Mode is by this New Zealand author who criticized class consciousness in her short story The Garden Party.
Mansfield.
The Bertha Young is shaken in the belief that in her perfect marriage after seeing her husband romantically embrace Pearl in this Mansfield short story.
Oh. I was reading about this the other day. I don't remember what it's called.
Answer. Bliss.
Yeah,
20 on the bonus.
that's a
Toss
thing.
7. The rejection of less conventional examples of this action led Feeneyism to be declared heretical. One performance of this action inspired the use of the word yardna in Mandaism. Dismas is often cited as an example of a biblical figure undergoing one form of this action of desire, while another form of blood was a...
Baptism.
You get 20 points.
Nice.
Ooh.
Power on baptism. And your bonus, simulation software based on this formalism, like C's Athena++ and Julia's Pluto, use adaptive mesh refinement to improve efficiency. 10 points each. Name this formalism used in most high-energy astrophysical simulations. This formalism is governed by both the Navier-Stokes equations and Maxwell's equations.
I don't know what formalism means.
Kinetic molecular theory. No clue.
Sure.
Kinetic molecular theory.
It is MHD, magnetohydrodynamics. MHD models this state of matter as a conducting fluid. This fourth state of matter consists of an ionized gas.
Plasma.
Yes. Numerical solutions to PDEs in MHD are often calculated using a class of methods named for finite instances of this quantity. Buoyant force equals the product of little g, density,
That's not
and this quantity.
And that is not right. I don't know if I had a difference.
Just direct them.
Volume?
That sounds
Sure,
right.
Sure.
Answer?
Volume?
Yes.
Nice.
Nice.
20 on the bonus.
Thank you.
Toss of 8. Residents of this country conclude that a clock is a god because a man claims he seldom does anything without consulting it. People in this country are rewarded with red, green, or blue silks for skill in leaping and creeping around sticks. Rival factions in this country...
Let's try Lilliput.
Good buzz.
Yeah.
Ooh.
20 points for Lilliput. Your bonus, this term first described a college that trained Catholic missionaries. 10 points each. Name this type of message that titles an 1928 book by Edward Bernays. Noam Chomsky and Edward S. Herman advance a model of mass media named for this type of message in Manufacturing Consent.
Subliminal. I don't know
maybe
if that
that
makes
might be
sense. No.
I think so.
Okay, we'll try it. Subliminal.
It's propaganda.
Oh.
The title of Manufacturing Consent comes from this media theorist who called the public the bewildered herd. He also introduced the modern meaning of stereotype.
I don't know.
Jung, this guy. I don't know.
I guess.
Answer, please.
Jung.
It's Walter Lippmann. Manufacturing Consent, which discusses anti-communist bias in the media, was written during this period of tension between the US and USSR. This period's two-word name was also popularized by Lippmann.
The Cold War.
You get 10 points. Toss up 9. This person cared for the children of relatives William Smith and John Shaw because they were both alcoholics. In the 12 years as the sole head of the household, this person greatly expanded the Peacefield House. A stone monument named for this person marks the spot where she watched the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Abigail Adams.
20 points.
I knew that. Damn it.
It's okay. It's okay.
Your bonus, after clearing this musician of a marijuana possession charge, Baroness Panonica de Koenigswarter wrote the liner notes for his album Crisscross. 10 points each. Name this jazz pianist who honored the Baroness in the song Panonica from the album Brilliant Corners. This genius of modern music also wrote the standard Straight No Chaser.
Try Duke Ellington. I don't know.
Thelonious Monk.
Oh, the one.
Wait.
Answer?
Sure.
Duke Ellington.
Thelonious Monk. In the 1950s, de Koenigswarter was a manager of this hard bop group founded by Horace Silver and Art Blakey, whose hits include Blues March and Moanin'.
Anyone?
I don't know.
And-
Blues Group number 7.
They're called the Jazz Messengers. De Koenigswarter also patronized this musician who died in her suite at the Stanhope Hotel. This bebop saxophonist was nicknamed Bird.
Charlie
Charlie
Parker.
Parker.
Right? Yeah. Parker.
For 10. Toss up 10, after which we'll have a score check. This is the third word of a method that uses character tables to identify equivalent atoms and stretching modes, where this word follows symmetry adapted. This is the first word of a technique that uses the Hartree-Fock method to compute coefficients for the sum of a basis set of Gaussian or Slater-type orbitals. Molecular orbitals can be formed by a combination of atomic orbitals described by this word. Molecules described by this 6-letter word have 3n-5 vibrational...
Linear.
Linear is correct for 10.
Nice.
And your bonus, this leader was nicknamed the Prince of Pacification for leading the Lam Son uprising against China. 10 points each. Name this leader of Vietnam who was the legendary owner of the Heaven's Will sword. This leader founded a dynasty that ruled Dai Viet before it was succeeded by the Tai Son dynasty.
Trun.
His name is Lê Loi. Lê Loi repelled this Chinese dynasty from Vietnam. This dynasty sponsored the voyages of Zheng He and was succeeded by the Qing.
Ming.
Yes. Lê Loi was sponsored during the Lam Son uprising by the Trinh and members of this prominent family, which later ruled a dynasty led by Tu Duc, who led for much of the mid-1800s.
Oh,
Answer?
Win.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
20 on the bonus, and that is the half. I have a score of Montgomery Blair 220, Hunter 100.
I agree.
Wonderful.
What's up? Okie dokie. We have a minute or two to pause here for presumably technical
It's
reasons.
fine.
Are we allowed to use our
Then I
check
would-
our
No, it could be Abigail.
What?
It could be
Oh,
John Quincy. and
fair
then
enough.
they said, There's no other.
Is that it? Okay, both teams are ready to continue.
Hell
Blair
yeah.
and Hunter, all good? Great. We'll resume with toss-up 11. Good luck to both teams. This author claims he would kiss the skin between the lower part of a woman's shoulder and the upper part of her arm if it were exposed. This author, who exclaims, "Perhaps my writings will not be given to the Lethe's waters," later invokes Phoebus and 9 goddesses to grant that wish in the 3rd book of one of his works. In that work, this author said that as Chiron was to Achilles, I am to Cupid. This author of Remedia Amoris struck...
Ovid?
10 points.
Nice.
You want to say 2021 essay by critic Parul Sehgal made the case against now ubiquitous plots focused on this condition. Then once each named this condition. A 2014 bestseller by Bessel van der Kolk about brain, mind, and body helped popularize this condition and treatments for it such as EMDR.
EMDR.
Is that
Not depression again.
Try it.
Answer?
Anxiety.
Trauma, or PTSD.
Oh.
That makes sense.
The body keeps the score. Segal's essay opens with an anecdote about this author encountering a weeping woman on a train. This author wrote To the Lighthouse.
Wolf.
Yes. Jamie Hood's Trauma Plot A Life examines Ovid's story of Tereus and Philomela, who are both turned into these creatures. The phrase halcyon days derives from Alcyone's transformation into one of these creatures.
Isn't bird halcyons?
That was in Bluemont.
No, it was not. It's
Ants?
Answer?
birds.
All I need. 20 points.
Nice.
Yeah, halcyons are birds.
They were 3 different birds, so... House 12, it's not chickens, but some Robert Fance experiments on these subjects involved a looking chamber. These subjects less frequently fail the 3 mountains task when 3-dimensional models are used. To evaluate a semantogenic theory, Mary Tudor conducted the notorious monster study of these subjects. These subjects are
Babies?
20 points.
What is that? The monster.
Actually, children.
Your bonus,
but
it's
the
not
speech
related to this
impediment.
tournament, but NASA's new PACE satellite is named for using optical spectroscopy to study the phytotype of these organisms. Then puts each name this broad group of aquatic organisms that are a major food source for krill and baleen whales.
Plankton.
It is.
Yeah.
Plankton.
Yes. The PACE satellite's HARP-2 polarimeter observes these atmospheric suspensions. These substances scatter sunlight, increasing the Earth's albedo.
Wait, what did it say?
Like, I don't know, clouds.
That's what I was gonna go for. Clouds.
They are aerosols, is what I want.
Oh, okay.
The PACE satellite is part of NASA's Earth observing system, which employs techniques from this field. Topographic maps made with LiDAR exemplify this field's goal of studying the Earth via emitted and reflected radiation.
Just like, it's like something type of wait, I forget what it's called. I don't know.
Espionage.
Remote sensing.
Oh, that's
And on the bonus, toss up 13. Alicia de la Rocha made the first complete recording of a piece for this instrument that contrasts A-flat minor and A-flat major in its opening Evocación. The song Bésame Mucho was inspired by The Maiden and the Nightingale, a piece for this instrument from Enrique Granados' Goyescas. Ricardo Viñes premiered a piece for this instrument whose first movement depicts the Generalife.
Ooh, guitar?
No.
Okay.
It's fine. You're good.
My bad.
You're good.
Manuel de Falla's Nights in the Gardens of Spain. Basque folk music inspired a G major concerto for this instrument by Maurice Ravel that begins with a whip crack. Paul Wittgenstein premiered Ravel's concerto for the left hand on this instrument. For 10 points, the right pedal is used for sustain on what keyboard instrument?
Piano.
That's the one. It is a piano, and you get... There we go. 10 points. And this bonus, Michael Hoffman's 2018 translation of Berlin Alexanderplatz from German to this language was the first since 1931. 10 points each. Hoffman and Jenny Erpenbeck shared the 2024 International Booker for his translation of Kairos into what language? The Booker Prize is for novels in this language.
English.
Yes. Hoffman's first translation was of a Kurt Tucholsky novel about one of these places. In an unfinished novel, the surveyor K tries to enter one of these title places whose bureaucrats include Klam.
Castle. Yes, Castle.
Hoffman translated The Land of Green Plums, a novel inspired by this author's life in communist-era Romania. This author wrote The Hunger Angel.
Oh. I don't know. I've heard of this, but I don't know.
And it is Nobel winner Herta Müller. 20 points. Toss up 14. In this modern-day country, a rebel leader was nicknamed Heavy Thud for his thunderous footfalls. To bolster his campaign, John F. Kennedy donated $100,000 to a Tom Mboya-led program bringing students from this country to America. Rebels in this country were accused of leading blood-drinking rituals by Rawson Macharia during...
Like Liberia?
Nope. Possibly Macharia. During the 1952 trial of a group that included Kungu Karumba and Bildad Kagia, the Kapenguria Six. Evelyn Baring authorized Operation Anvil during an anti-colonial uprising in this country led by Dedan Kimathi. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga founded the KPU party in this country, which was rocked by the Mau Mau Rebellion. For 10 points, name this East African country led from Nairobi.
Kenya.
Kenya is correct. Your bonus, a 1934 article argues that a couple's joined hands in this painting are a gesture of fides. For 10 points each, name this painting whose background contains a convex mirror surrounded by medallions depicting the Passion. The small dog at the bottom of this painting may also represent fidelity.
Arnolfini portrait.
Yes, this German art critic advanced the hypothesis that the Arnolfini portrait was a marriage contract in that 1934 article. This critic elaborated on the hypothesis in his book, Early Netherlandish Painting.
Do we know?
Nope.
No. Schmidt.
Panofsky, Erwin Panofsky. The Arnolfini portrait is by this early Netherlandish painter who created the Ghent altarpiece with his brother Hubert.
Van Eyck.
You get 20 points.
Nice.
15. Description acceptable.
Favorite.
Description acceptable. This action is performed 3 times in a bi-elliptic technique that can be optimal if a ratio of final to initial distance exceeds 12. Performing this action quickly while potential energy is minimized exploits the Oberth effect. This action is performed twice, first for raising, then for circularizing in a Hohmann transfer.
Like burning?
20 points.
Nice.
Specifically burning rocket fuel.
Oh.
A maneuver.
Your bonus, during the late 19th century, when silver was scarce, many American companies accepted these objects as currency, perhaps to the chagrin of philatelists. 10 points each. Name these objects issued by a government agency led by John Wanamaker, which also ran a popular money order system.
Is it script? I don't know. That's like a specific thing.
Sure.
I don't know. Script.
They're postage stamps.
Oh, that makes
The amount of
sense.
silver in circulation increased after the 1890 Silver Purchase Act, named for this Ohio senator who also sponsored an antitrust act.
Sherman. Oh wait, no.
Sherman. Wait.
Go with
Sherman.
Sherman.
Oh yeah, Sherman. makes
Sherman,
sense.
yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another form of de facto currency was bearer notes issued by banks described by this word, which also identifies people who prospected for oil in unproven fields. This word names strikes that occur without the support of union leaders.
Wildcat.
Yes, 20 points. 16. This king's ambassador to England was imprisoned in London after marrying the Jacobite Sarah Wright, leading Daniel Defoe to call him a stockfish lunatic. This monarch, who was wounded by a bullet to the foot, was carried on a stretcher toward Turkey as his army surrendered at Pervolokna. 9 years earlier, this monarch's forces capitalized on the Peace of Travendal to win a battle in which 10 enemy generals and the personal physician of the Tsar were captured, the First Battle of Narva.
Charles the 12th.
You got it.
God,
10
I
points.
should've had it
Charles.
earlier.
Tava.
Sorry, was that power?
10. First word out of
Yeah,
power.
Dad loves power.
Your bonus, answer the following about different religious protections against the evil eye for 10 points each. Jewish boys in Central Europe sometimes wore Halsgezeig neckbands adorned with coins to distract the evil eye during this practice of removing foreskin.
Bris.
Prompt.
Circumcision.
That's what I need, yeah. Original language term required. In Islam, certain protective phrases must be uttered as a protection against the evil eye, such as this Arabic phrase meaning God has willed it.
Inshallah.
Mashallah.
Oh.
Several religions across North Africa and the Middle East use this palm-shaped amulet to ward off the evil eye. Sephardic Jews were among the first to use this amulet against the evil eye.
Just like the hand with
Yeah,
the
it's
eye
like
in the middle.
Yeah. I don't know what it's called.
Answer.
Shimon.
Yeah,
Eye.
that's what
Called a Hamsa or a Kamsa. 10 of the bonus. 17. This film's cinematographer F.A. Young created an illusion over a mudflat for a lengthy scene of a man in black riding towards a well. This film's protagonist mutters, "Nothing is written," after rescuing a man with fatigue. A photographer captures this film's protagonist in white robes as he stands on an overturned train. Steven Spielberg has often recreated a cut from this film in which a man blows out a match to reveal a sunrise. Omar Sharif plays a sheik in this film, which was inspired by the book Seven...
Lawrence of Arabia.
That's the one.
Nothing is written.
Your bonus, Blair. In 2024, researchers at Cardiff University disputed the long-held belief that alkyl groups act as electron donors through this effect. 10 points each. Name this effect, whose positive and negative types are respectively caused by electron donating and electron withdrawing groups. Answer?
Any guess?
Steeric.
One more time.
Steeric.
It's the inductive effect, or induction. While electron-donating groups promote substitution at the ortho and para positions, electron-withdrawing groups direct
Okay.
substitution at this benzene position, which is separated from the group by one carbon in the ring.
Meta.
Meta's right, yeah. These elements are unusually ortho-para directors while also acting as electron-withdrawing
Halogens.
groups. This group of elements includes chlorine.
Halogens.
20 points. Certainly. Timeout Hunter, we have a current
That is-
score of
that's
Blair
real
370, Hunter 160, with 3 toss-ups remaining.
That was a Friedelcrest question.
This
Oh,
is-
it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
What was it? Did you say?
There was a Friedelcrest question.
Oh.
Enthusiasm.
There's been like 3 where I knew.
Wait, Charles, the turn.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Should have. Okay.
Reminds me of the
thing
Stanley
is the-
Pup, which is happening.
Just
I
thinking
love
about that
this.
there.
We were watching it, like a recap of it last night. It was so
If we were
cute.
using
It was
the
so
but
cute.
But we're not. So it's
Dogs on
okay.
those fine.
It's not nice. But they just put like 16 dogs into a little tiny arena, and then they bring little toys into the net, and it's the cutest thing ever.
They also had to put dogs in a timeout.
They did. They had a penalty box for the dogs. It was great.
They could just stare at the other puppies.
Hunter, ready to continue?
Yeah.
Blair, ready to continue? We're good.
Yeah.
Great.
Stanley Pup and
Resume with
Dog
toss-up
again.
18. Good luck, both teams. In this play, a man says, "I give you my sweat and my blood," but that he spent all his tears in a speech in which he describes trying to blast a hole into forever. A woman in this play says, "I took all my dreams and I buried them inside you," leading a man to exclaim, "You say I take and don't give." A man in this play sings "Hear It Ring" in a song about the good old dog
Fences.
Yeah, last word of power.
Nice.
20 points. Your bonus: a Chinese region often described by this English word is the setting of Shuang Shui Tao's novel Moses on the Plain, which is emblematic of the Dongbei Renaissance. 10 points each. Name this word that also describes a belt of former industrial powerhouses such as Flint, Michigan, and Gary, Indiana.
Rust.
Yes. Germany's Rust Belt is sometimes said to be in a coal and steel producing region that is named for this river that flows through Kettwig, Witten, and Arnsberg.
Huh. What if it's like the
That's what I was thinking.
Ruhr?
Well, if it was the Ruhr, you get 10 points.
Nice.
And it is.
That makes sense.
This city's Rust Belt suburb of Elizabeth was once home to a factory making Holden cars. This city is north of the Fleurieu Peninsula and is named for the wife of Britain's King William IV.
Okay. I think.
That's not Anne.
Charlottesville? Or Charlotte, just Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Adelaide.
Okay.
Oh.
20 on the bonus.
Cool.
Toss up 19. While painted red and black, this god distracts the wives of 7 seers in the pine forest. This god has been compared to Dionysus for causing a rampage leading to the beheading of Daksha after this god's first wife immolated herself. In a
Shit, that's not it. Sorry, Shiva.
20 points.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the Ramayana, right?
Your bonus: identify the following about the history of measuring years for 10 points each. A calendar introduced by a pope of this name in 1582 better spaced out leap years to improve on the earlier Julian calendar.
Gregory.
Yes. Varro Reatinus is credited with formalizing the Roman system for counting years, which names the years for the holders of this office. The Praetor Urbanus held power when the holders of this office were away.
Consoles.
The Minyan Shtarot dating system used by Yemenite Jews is based on this ruler's reconquest of Babylon. In our contemporary dating system, this ruler was assassinated by Ptolemy Ceraunus in 281 BCE.
Isn't that like Fabius?
Ceraunus, probably.
I was gonna say Cyrus. No.
Don't know. Cyrus would be.
What you said.
Answer?
Guess.
Cyrus.
Seleucus the First.
Cool.
Seleucus Nicator. 20 on the bonus. And the last toss-up. One protein in this family localizes to the sides of stereocilia in order to support tip links, and is the most common protein mutated in patients with type 1 Usher syndrome. One of these proteins cross-links anti-parallel structures into stress fibers. Class 6 of these proteins travel towards pointed ends, while their class 2 is conventional. The presence of these proteins distinguishes the H zone and the A band, and these proteins are absent from I bands. The head domain of these proteins uses energy released by ATP hydrolysis for its power stroke.
Myosin.
Myosin's correct for 10.
Cool.
And you get a bonus. A 2023 play adapts this character as Alvita, who recalls her 5 marriages while telling stories at a pub. 10 points each. Name this character who tears pages out of the book Valerie and Theophrast. This woman tells a story about King Midas's ass's ears and goes deaf in one ear after her husband hits her.
The storytelling would have guessed Scheherazade, but all
And?
of that feels super Scheherazade.
It's the wife of Bath.
Oh,
In Zadie Smith's
yeah.
The Wife of Willesden, Alvita was born in this country, and she sets the wife of Bath's tale here, or there, or here. Josie Wales fails to kill the singer in this country in the 2015 Booker-winning novel A Brief History of 7 Killings.
Oh, I've heard of that book. I don't know where it's at. Sure.
And
UK.
it's Jamaica. The singer's
Makes
Bob
more
Marley.
sense.
Smith described turning Allison from Bath into Alvita from Willesden while maintaining the colloquial flow of this author's The Canterbury Tales. 10 points. That is the game. A final score of 390 for Blair, 240 for Hunter. Good game, both teams.
Team guys.
And as always, just need somebody.
Good morning and welcome back to the Pace NSC here at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare in Rosemont, Illinois. Delighted to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being back with us. Again, I am Chloe Emma White-Levine. I'm a Pace member.
And I am Andrew Wong. I am a Pace member emeritus.
And we are so excited to continue being your host today as we head into Superplayoffs. We've had a couple rounds of play so far here in the championship bracket. We're coming to you from the Rosemont Ballroom, where play will continue in just a few moments with a game between Audrain County from Mexico, Missouri versus Northview. And as you can hear in the background, they are setting up, getting excited for the game. But let's talk a little bit about how the morning's going so far and what we should be looking out for in this game.
Absolutely. Well, both of these teams are currently 1-3. Northview did just pick up their first win, 20-point win over Detroit Catholic Central, a team that until now was undefeated in the playoffs. So currently with the standings, Strake, Jesuit, and Lexington are 4-0. DCC is 3-1. So Northview might have had the chance to have played spoiler for potential contender right there. I'm not 100% sure if if Audrain County and Northview are still in contention, but they came to play. You play to win, so.
Absolutely. And a lot of what happens here is going to depend on the rest of the games happening concurrently, of course. Once you get to these later rounds, we really do have to wait until the very end to see how everything's playing out. These are all great teams. The fact that Northview could pick up their first win against an undefeated team just speaks to the fact that everything comes down to the questions at this level.
Absolutely. Sometimes you just hit a good packet. My understanding is this Northview team has some super duper good specialists, but they might have a couple holes in some other categories while they're super dominant at their main categories. So if they're dominating on 8 or 9 categories around and maybe getting like maybe 7-ish of them every time, they still got to scrap for the rest of those questions. And so sometimes you hit a hot packet, and sometimes you just get the ones that are the holes of your holes. So
absolutely. Now we just saw a game in this room between Hunter A and Montgomery Blair, and in that game Blair came out on top with a score of 390 to 240. What were some of the big takeaways from that game for you, Andrew?
Well, I thought that at the very end of things, I think there was a very nice timeout at the end by Hunter's coach, just reminding the players why they're here. They're here to have a good time. And I think they know they're here to have a good time.
Absolutely. They didn't hit their packet that round for sure. But one thing I did just want to shout out about Hunter, even though they obviously have a great player in Evan Schleck, as we've talked about before. Evan actually was the first individual scorer in playoffs yesterday. It's also worth noting that multiple other members of Hunter have been crucial contributors this morning. And just a few rounds ago, we saw Theodore get 4 powers in the first half. He's just a sophomore, so definitely more to watch in this program as the years go by.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of gifted kids at Hunter. They always seem to find a way to reload some way or another,
I won't comment too much on that because I'll be accused of bias.
I'm not in charge of that. I'm not going to try to just infer what's going on there. So
now, of course, Blair, obviously an incredible performance. They were really dominant on the buzzer, coming in with a lot of powers, particularly from their captain, whose name I'm pulling up now, and their 4th chair, Sophia. Anything else you would like to say about Blair?
Yeah, I mean, Blair's record of 1-3 also kind of hides how really good they are, because, I mean, first of all, they're in the top cut. You're in the creme de la creme, but their first loss of the Super Playoffs is really a carryover from the playoffs, and that was a 10-point loss to Strake Jesuit, who's currently undefeated and has had some very, very strong statement wins in their previous Super Playoff matches. So even though they haven't, won their game, they keep it close against the best teams.
Absolutely. And that player I was talking about before on Blair A is Justin. Just want to make sure we give him his flowers. And yes, again, once you're at this level in the championship bracket of the Super Playoffs, these are the top 8 teams in the tournament. All of these teams are winners in my book. Really, depending on the packet, depending on the day, it could go any given way.
Yeah, I mean, one team gets to win, but at the end of the day, the teams come to compete and have a good time. I want them to have a good time.
And as a spectator, I'm thrilled to see that closeness, that tight competition this year, particularly coming right after a year in which we didn't even have a final because Barrington cleared the field.
Yeah, rude of them. I just wanted to watch some Quiz Bowl.
All right, looks like we are getting closer to being ready to go, but we're still waiting on one team. Sorry? Oh, okay, great. All right, let's talk about what's going on elsewhere in the bracket. So we've got Lexington still putting up really strong numbers this morning. We believe they were undefeated yesterday. And again, this is a JV team, so new, fresh players, just an incredible performance. They actually got their first 20 bonus parts that they ran into this morning. A pretty incredible stat there, especially for a JV team. And I believe they just cranked out another tight win against Audrain County, right, who we're about to see here.
Yeah, I believe, with 2 or 3 questions to go, it was a one-cycle game at the time, and they just pulled through to the end. At the end of the day, these kids are gamers, they're ballers, they're playmakers, they're shot callers, These kids win, like Tim Tebow, but only at the collegiate level.
Fair enough. Now, a couple other things to shout out this morning from elsewhere. Of course, again, all the teams all across the championship brackets this morning, and all across playoffs and super playoffs, all the way down to those lowest brackets, have achieved something remarkable simply by being here. And so if you want to know more about those games, of course, you can follow along at pace-nsc.org/live. And you can also follow live blogs there from our colleagues. They're following different teams each day, and they'll be able to bring you some insights into specific games down in those lower brackets. But just a few other things to shout out. We just saw a very close game between University School of Nashville's A and B teams coming down to the last cycle, right?
It did. Wow, that was close.
A cranked it out in the end, however. And just a few other nice highlights we've heard from our colleagues across the hotel. We've got a toss-up just a few rounds ago on the work oil, which has an exclamation point in the title. That was mentioned in the question. Players across the tournament having a lot of fun with shouting oil to reflect their knowledge of that punctuation mark.
I'm sure they're all just making references to There Will Be Blood now.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, I could go for a milkshake, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And thank you again for your patience as we work through some of the technical issues with this stream. This is the first year that we're doing this, and of course there are going to be some growing pains. But just speaking for myself here, it's so gratifying to hear from all of you about your watching and enjoying the stream, and I hope we can keep this going for many years to come.
I'm having a good time.
Good. All right, we need to cut to a break for just a few moments, and we'll be back with you soon. All right, welcome back to the Rosemont Ballroom. We are just about ready to get started with this next game here. We've got Audrain County Academic Team from Missouri versus Northview from Georgia, and we're going to bring you that game now.
Looking forward to it. God, those white pixels really make me sad.
Base NSC Superplayoffs. I have on my left Audrain County Academic Team, and on my right Northview. Now you guys check your buzzers and say your names and your year or a fun fact about you or whatever you feel like. Starting over here with Audrain County.
Hunter Jr.
Lucy, senior.
Camden, the captain.
Andrew Senior.
Excellent.
Caden Freshman. Ray Sophomore.
Ehon Freshman. And you sophomore.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And my name is Rob Carson. I will be your moderator. I am a PACE Emeritus member, and I do Quiz Bowl, my fellow staffer. All right. Both teams ready to begin? Great. Good luck. Start with toss-up number 1. DTT reduces these bonds by forming a 6-membered ring. A primary cellular use of selenium is by enzymes that break these bonds.
Disulfide bonds.
That's a good buzz.
Nice.
20 points.
I should have touched this one. Good job.
And you also get this bonus. Workers are hoisted via chairs to dust and clean a massive bronze statue of this figure during the annual Ominugui ceremony at Todaiji. 10 points each. Name this religious figure, whose statues often depict him performing hand symbols called mudra. In China, this figure is often depicted laughing with a round belly.
Buddha.
Yes. This valley housed 2 Buddhas, the eastern and western one, carved into sandstone cliffs. Those 2 Buddhas in this valley were blown up by the Taliban in 2001.
Bamiyan?
Yes. Those Bamiyan Buddhas were stylistically inspired by this art style, which depicted bodhisattvas with mustaches and top knots. Buddhas from this style had large circular halos and robes inspired by statues of Apollo.
This style. Wait. Do you know any like sculpture styles? Okay, sure.
Archaic?
Gandhara.
Or that's right.
On Greco-Buddhists. And bonus. Here's toss up 2. In a musical, one of this author's characters belts, "Oh my god, why am I standing here?" at the end of the climactic number, Edges of the World. One of this author's characters describes your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing in the musical number Ring of Keys by Janine Tesori and Lisa Cron. In one work, this Oberlin-educated author depicted the suicide of her closeted father who owned a funeral parlor. A graphic novel by this author... Alison Bechtel, 10 points.
Oh, that's fine. It's fine.
And Audrain County, your bonus. Johnny Cochran was criticized for comparing this person to Adolf Hitler in a speech in which he called him a lying, perjuring, genocidal racist. 10 points each. Name this LAPD detective who's exposed racism led his testimony to be heavily scrutinized in a 1995 trial.
Daryl Gates, the police chief.
And that name's Mark Furman. The revelations of Furman's racism contributed to the controversial acquittal of this former NFL star of the murder of his ex-wife Nicole Brown and her friend Ron Goldman. O.J. Simpson's correct. The evidence Furman was alleged to have planted included a blood-spattered one of these objects. During the trial, Simpson's defense made a claim about one of these objects that ends, "You must acquit."
Glove.
Yes, if your glove don't fit. 20 on the bonus. Here is toss-up number 3. Oh, here is toss-up number 3. One of these beings is swept away by a wave near the harbor of Glendor after being put to sleep by Manon's music in Colloquy of the Ancients. One object became able to give deceptive power when Clina, a queen of these beings, instructed Cormac Ladder McCarthy to kiss it. Les Lavandiers of Breton legend are analogues of these mythical beings that can be seen washing bloody clothes of dying people. These creatures, which are associated with name...
Selfies?
Nope. Associated with namesake mounds and the Morrigan, may summon a death coach via the traditional funerary practice of keening. These fae are said to shatter glass in parts of Leinster. For 10 points, name these female beings from Irish myth known for their wailing.
Banshees?
Banshees, right, yes.
Nice.
10 for Shihan. And your bonus, Northview. In a novel in this genre, Abinson uses the I Ching to write a subversive novel called The Grasshopper Lies Heavy. 10 points each. Name the genre of that aforementioned novel in which Frank Frink sells antiques. Characters theorize about the kidnapping of Charles Lindbergh's son in another novel in this genre.
That's alternate history.
Yeah.
I think that's
Right.
alternate history.
It is. The Man in the High Castle and The Plot Against America are alternate history novels by authors with this first name, the latter of whom created the recurring character Nathan Zuckerman.
Philip.
Possibly the first English alternate history is a story by this author about a man who claims to know Napoleon called Pease Correspondence. Characters watch a meteor from a scaffold in this author's The Scarlet Letter.
Hawthorne.
30 points.
Nice. Good job.
Good job.
toss-up 4. In this novel, a squirrel hangs on an unfinished house before one man shows another a picture of his dead wife. After a professor sings, 2 women in this novel remain in emotional cocoons for a fortnight. One of those women claims, "I like mysteries, but I rather dislike muddles," after attending a bridge party in this...
Passage to India.
20 points. Good
Nice.
prize.
Good plus. Got this, guys.
And Northview, your bonus. This book argues that human freedom is rooted in natality, or the fact that we appear in the world by birth, which thus creates new possibilities. 10 points each. Name this Hannah Arendt book that defines work, labor, and activity as parts of the vita activa, which is contrasted with the vita contemplativa.
Like banality of evil.
Yeah, so...
Is that the name? That's not the name of the book. Banality of evil.
That's her other book. It's The Human Condition.
Oh.
A 2012 paper by Jennifer Shaw argues that studies of pregnancy were central to the development of the medical gaze described in this author's book, The Birth of the Clinic.
What the... Yeah, I have no idea. Just guess, like...
Answer?
Smith.
Michel Foucault. This existentialist philosopher and lover of Jean-Paul Sartre claimed that one is not born, but rather becomes a woman in the 2nd volume of her book, The Second Sex.
Oh,
Beauvoir.
Simone de Beauvoir.
Beauvoir.
De Beauvoir.
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
Simone de Beauvoir. You get 10 on the bonus. Here is toss-up number 5. A member of this family boasts of her friendship with Saddam Hussein in Lauren Greenfield's documentary, The Kingmaker. In 1994, a ruling that cited the 1789 Alien Tort Claims Act ordered this family to pay $1.2 billion in damages. Adnan Khashoggi helped a member of this family buy Manhattan's Crown Building. Excuse me, a member of this family grabbed diamonds for her exile in Hawaii after being...
Marcos.
For 10. For 20, excuse me.
That's unfortunate.
20 for the Marcos family. Your bonus, Audrain County. Count data output by this technique is normalized as TPM or FPKM. And once each name this technique whose single-cell form yields data that can be processed via UMAP followed by clustering. This central technique of transcriptomics can identify differential expression. Answer?
Sequencing.
Second prompt.
Data sequencing.
DNA sequencing.
RNA sequencing. RNA-seq is performed at this more coarse level of biological organization by the GTEx project. This broad category of structures which compose organs includes muscle and epithelial.
Yeah.
Tissue.
That's all I need. Tissue-specific GTEx data can be used to call these genomic regions, which are distinct from GWAS hits. These regions are linearly correlated with continuous traits like gene expression.
It might just be physical traits.
CL.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's 20 points. They're quantitative trait loci.
Oh, they're good.
Toss up 6. A classical period concerto for this instrument in B-flat major only barely resembles its arrangement in a late Romantic style by Friedrich Grützmacher.
Cello.
That's a good buzz.
Yes!
You get 20 points.
Let's go.
Nice.
For bonus, a poll tax prompted 1,000 people of this ethnicity to flee to the Daho crater, where they subsisted on sweet potatoes. 10 points each. Identify these predominantly Muslim people who were massacred by forces under Leonard Wood.
That's a good guess.
Answer.
Kurds.
These are Moros.
Oh, that's fine.
The Moro massacre was criticized by the American Anti-Imperialist League, whose vice presidents included this peace-loving industrialist. This man sold his namesake steel company to J.P. Morgan in 1901.
Carnegie? I think Carnegie.
Carnegie.
Yes.
Nice.
American troops bought improved weapons from this company because they needed more stopping power against juramentado Moros. In 1847, the Texas Rangers bought revolvers from this pioneer of interchangeable parts.
Like Winchester? I don't know what it's called.
Smith & Wesson.
Colt.
No.
Nice try.
Nice try.
Samuel Colt. 10 on the
Let's go.
bonus. Here is toss-up 7. Jack Wisdom's 1982 doctoral thesis hypothesized that a pattern in the distribution of these objects was caused by Arnold diffusion. A Russian-Polish railroad engineer pioneered work on a thermal force exerted on these objects that was added to models in CNEOS's Sentry 2 software. OSIRIS-REx measured aspects of the Yarkovsky effect on one of these objects.
Asteroids.
20 points.
Bro, I'm not.
It's
It's
fine.
okay. It's just fake science, bro.
And Audrain County, your bonus. Mass marriages in this religion are known as blessing ceremonies. To teach name this new religious movement whose practitioners are sometimes called Moonies after its founder, Sun Myung Moon.
It's Unification Church, right?
UC.
I'll prompt.
Unification Church.
Yeah. The Unification Church believes in apokatastasis, the principle that everyone will eventually undergo this process. This process is sometimes defined as being rescued by God from the consequences of our wrongdoing, and names an army founded by Catherine and William Booth.
It's a salvation.
Salvation. salvation.
Yes. Chung Hua Pak's expose of sexual abuse in the Unification Church was titled for this number of Marys. This is the lesser of two numbers of ages of the world defined by Augustine of Hippo.
5.
5.
6. 20 on the bonus.
Alright,
And
we're
you're
still ahead. Not this one.
One of these things found in Rabivere, Estonia in 1936 was or could be properly studied. Alfred Deek fabricated evidence of these things, which provide evidence of the Swabian knot. A 1969 book by P.V. Glob summarized research on these specimens, including ones found in Elling and Tolland. These
Humans.
Oh, yeah. What's the prompt? Yes, okay, yeah. In what locations were they found?
Like bogs.
There we go, 20 points.
Oh my god. So unfortunate.
No, your handy bones.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's people in bodies.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got it.
Oh,
Perfect.
I was buzzing.
Audrain, counting your bonus. These objects, which are the typical target of applications of Wick's theorem, are depicted as a gray cat in Griffith's introduction to quantum mechanics. 10 points each. Name these paired objects that can be written as L sub x plus or minus I. What? L sub x plus or minus IL sub y for angular momentum. These objects can be denoted A and A dagger.
Okay, guys, we're still close.
Okay, answer.
No.
Color diagram.
They're ladder operators. Ladder operators are used to find the energy eigenstates of this system, whose nth energy level equals h bar omega times n plus 1/2.
Okay. I'm good with that. I don't have anything better.
Okay. Harmonic oscillator.
I can prompt.
Simple harmonic oscillator.
Quantum.
Okay.
Wick's theorem describes contraction, which is a variation of an operation that shares its name with this property. This mathematical property holds for operators A and B when AB equals BA.
Commutative. No. Associative.
Answer?
Okay. Associative.
Commutative. Nothing on the bonus. Here is toss-up number 9. A post-war housing crisis in this city was partly caused by the 1944 Abercrombie Plan proscribing an outer green belt. Property prices in this most populous city in its country increased following a scheme introduced in the 1980s called Right to Buy. This city's brutalist Trellick Tower was built as part of a broader council house project advocated for by Aniran Bevan. In 2017, a building in this city with aluminum cladding
London?
10 points.
Nice. Good buzz, good buzz.
This is Grenfell Tower.
Alright, good buzz.
10 for Anoop, and a bonus for Northview. Siri von Essen was the director of the Scandinavian Experimental Theatre, which she co-founded with this author. 10 points each. Von Essen originated the title role of what Swedish author's play Miss Julie?
Strindberg.
Yes, with August Falk, Strindberg created the Intima Theatre, which used this type of raised stage with a name from the Greek for before the stage. The audience looks towards this type of stage's namesake, arch.
Proscenium.
Nice.
Falk and Strindberg fell out when the Intima Theatre staged its only non-Strindberg play, which was this author's The Intruder. This Belgian symbolist wrote the marionette play Interior and The Blue Bird.
That's not good. Just guess like any author.
Correct.
Maeterlinck. Maurice Maeterlinck.
Nice try.
20 on the bonus.
Let's go. We got this.
Toss of 10, after which we'll have a score check. In a poem adopted as the national anthem of a different country, the poet of this country declared both the sword and the pen as our symbols. A woman from this country describes how she misses the smell of coffee in her late poem Longing Inspired by the Law of Gravity. The speaker declares, "You killed me, and I forgot, like you, to die, while within the ancient walls of the capital of this country." It's not Lebanon, but a poet from this country reflected on the siege of Beirut in the prose poem Memory.
Palestine.
10 points.
It's from.
Oh no. That's fine.
Your bonus, Audrain
Still
County.
ahead.
A 2021 paper by Ahmad et al. Found that climate-related outages in this industry have increased by a factor of 8 since the 1990s. 10 points each. Name this industry reliant on coolants such as borated water. New entrants into this industry are often designed to be dry-cooled or adhere to island mode.
Nuclear energy? I don't.
Nuclear energy.
Yes. In 2024, this company rebooted a 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant to meet the energy demands for its AI offerings, such as Copilot for Excel.
It's Microsoft.
Microsoft.
Yes. Bill Gates is an investor in TerraPower, a maker of these types of nuclear power plants, which are under 300 megawatt in capacity and have some parts that are factory assembled.
Just mini reactors. Mini reactors, that's all they are. I don't.
Mini reactor.
They're called, they're modular, small modular nuclear reactors.
Still
Just
up,
need
still
modular.
Still up by
20 on the bonus, that is the half. I have a score at the half of Northview 170, Audrain County 160. Good deal.
Categorization was weird. I think
Just 20 works.
there was a
Don't stress about.
So
Science.
CFA toss-up left. RMPSS toss-ups coming for sure.
Okay. Let's hope it's like
There was
something she
two
don't
hits.
know.
So we can do more.
Don't stress. Don't stress.
Psi is half. So
Belgian boys,
Yeah.
the London.
Gilda Road too.
26.
Good London buzz, by the way.
The best. Don't worry about asteroid. That's fake. You got the real Psi.
I don't buzz on Astro anyways,
It's okay.
bro.
It's okay.
Dude.
But royalties is gone. But whatever.
Yeah, and power. Got this,
I
bro.
know.
All right,
It's
both
Chill
teams
out.
ready to continue with the second half. We're good to go. Great.
You got it, guys.
Good luck, both teams. We'll resume with toss-up number 11. A text named for this figure is the earlier of two with sections preserved in the Birmingham manuscript. It's not Moses, but this child of Imran may have originated the practice of ruku after being told to bow down in prayer with those who bow down. This figure receives nourishment after a long journey when God creates a river.
Ishmael.
Nope. Melted there. And dates fall from a shaken palm tree. A surah named for this figure features an opening verse containing 5 mysterious letters and describes Abraham leaving behind his family's idolatry. Jibreel announced the pregnancy of this greatest woman, the only woman referred to by name in the Quran. For 10 points, name this mother of the prophet Isa, the Arabic equivalent of Jesus.
I want to protest. At that point, I think it'd be both accepted.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, wait.
Mariam
Oh,
is her
No, never mind.
I thought you wanted the Arabic.
Your Arabic
I'm
name,
like,
rather.
Oh.
Yeah, you get 10 points.
Mariah.
I thought of Jesus.
Hey, good job.
Jesus is counted.
Oh.
And you get this bonus, Northview. A bird is described as a this word dawn-drawn falcon in The Windhover.
Okay.
10 points each. Name this word.
Hopkins.
The poem Pied Beauty lists skies of couple color as a brinded cow and all things counter, original, spare, strange. After stating, glory be to God for
Dappled.
things described by this word.
Dapple.
Dappled. I think described by this word. So dappled.
Okay, dappled.
Either one's fine.
Nice.
This poet of The Windhover and Pied Beauty wrote, I kiss my hand to the dappled with Damson West in The Wreck of the Deutschland.
Yeah.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Nice, good job.
Hopkins' phrase, dapple dawn drawn falcon, exemplifies his sprung rhythm where this property is placed on a foot's first syllable. The
Stress.
second syllable of an iamb, but not the first, has this
Yeah,
property.
sure,
Yes.
the-
Stress.
30 points.
Good job.
Toss-up 12. The titles of this painting and Manet's Olympia are written on a black background in Jean-Michel Basquiat's painting Crown Hotel. An artist wrote an analysis of attacks of this painting after being photographed as its subject by Philippe Halsman. Prior to a 1963 tour of this painting in the U.S., Fernando Botero created a parody of its subject at age 12. Nationalist beliefs about this painting motivated Vincenzo Perugia. A desecration of this painting with a goatee and
Mona Lisa.
10 points.
There's.
That's so dumb.
It's fine.
Hello,
It's
Sean.
fine. It's fine. It's fine.
And Audrain County, you get a bonus. Finite groups of this property compose the 26 sporadic groups, the largest of which is the monster group. 10 points each. Name this property of groups that contain no non-trivial normal subgroups. The smallest non-abelian group with this property is A5.
Normal. I don't. Normal one.
Normal.
Despite being the hard part, this is simple. McKay observed monstrous moonshine by connecting the monster group to this mathematician's J invariant. This namesake of a 4 group also names a non-orientable surface that is self-intersecting when embedded in 3D space.
Klein.
Klein.
Yes, Klein bottle. The fundamental polygon of the Klein bottle is this shape, whose symmetries compose the group D2. Matrices with equal numbers of rows and columns have this shape.
Square.
Square.
Yes. 20 on the bonus.
Alright.
Toss-up 13. Description acceptable. A glass device to aid in providing this service was popularized by HMS Beagle Captain Robert Fitzroy. It's not astronomy.
Predicting the weather.
It's 20 points.
Wow, we weren't getting that.
Very good buzz.
It's fine. It's good.
Your bonus Audrain County original language term required. Glommer, a prominent antagonist in Grettis saga, is often stated to be one of these beings. 10 points each. Name these undead beings from Norse myth who are portrayed as zombies in modern depictions.
Is this Einhardther?
Answer.
Roll.
Called Draugr.
Need 4 out of this.
Draugrs appear throughout the sagas and written in what is now this country. The prose Edda was compiled by Snorri Sturluson, a scholar from this modern-day
Yeah.
country.
Iceland.
Yes. Rain is a Draugr from Hromundar saga Gripsonar, who is identified by this term of Valand. This term refers to warriors that entered a furious trance-like state in battle, often by wearing wolf or bear skins.
Berserk.
Yeah, Berserker.
Berserker.
Yes, 20 points.
Barbarian. Let's go.
Toss-up 14. Estimates obtained by observing these particles are reported with distinct values for their inverted and normal orderings. Stars can cool via the creation of these particles by direct Urca processes. A vector written in these particles' mass eigenbasis is left multiplied by the PMNS matrix.
Neutrinos.
20 points.
Nice.
That's kind of stalled.
Neutrinos is correct.
It's nothing.
Your bonus Northview. The U.S. Marines hymn is based on the Gendarmes duet from this composer's operetta Geneviève de Brabant. 10 points each. Name this French composer of Orpheus in the Underworld, whose Infernal Galop is a popular can-can tune.
Orff. Sure. Right. I mean, I think so. Orff.
Offenbach. In Offenbach's operetta, The Grand Duchess of Gerolstein, the title character gives Fritz one of these objects near the end of Act 1. Trombone glissandi punctuate a xylophone solo in a dance from the Armenian ballet Gayane, titled for these objects.
Saber. Oh,
Yeah,
against
I
the
think
sabers.
so.
Saber.
It is sabers, yes. This Austrian composer modeled his operettas like Die Schöne Galatea on those of Offenbach. He's best known for the overture to his operetta Light Cavalry.
Yeah, I'm not gonna know. Salieri.
Sure.
Salieri.
His name is Franz von Zuppe.
Same
Just need
thing.
Zuppe. 10 on the bonus.
Alright, we're leading,
It's okay,
guys.
let's go.
Yeah.
15. In a work by this author, a woman imagines a friend saying, "What pretensions, madame," after noting that a part of her life need not possess her body and soul. That woman, in a work by this author, hears a dog barking, the spurs of a cavalry officer, and bees humming while standing naked under the sky. In a story by this author, a woman whispers, "Body and soul free," before dying.
Chopin.
20 points.
Nice.
Kate
Did you
Chopin.
know that? I don't know. Okay, it's fine then. Alright.
Here is your bonus. Audrain County. Lema Gabowi founded a women-led mass action for peace in this country, the United Christians and Muslims, to end a 2003 civil war. 10 points each. Name this country where Charles Taylor overthrew Samuel Doe. Indigenous groups overthrew the American-descended True Whig Party in this country.
Liberia.
Yes, correct. The Amujai Initiative for Female Leadership was founded by this Liberian president who put Taylor on trial in The Hague. This person was the first democratically elected head of state in Africa.
Surly.
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Sirleaf's leadership earned her this nickname shared by Eugenia Charles in Dominica. This two-word nickname referred to Margaret Thatcher's stalwart nature.
Iron Lady.
Iron Lady.
Iron Lady's correct for
Guys,
30.
got this.
Absolutely. She's going to give you a score check anyway. It's the three-quarter mark. It's Audrain County 280, Northview 240.
Oh my god.
5 toss-ups remain.
We need 3.
Thatcher.
Give him.
Don't stress.
I don't understand. You didn't have to do it on stage.
Sci-hist, PSA.
Yeah.
Do
Let's
that.
try his-
Right now.
Alright, bro.
Sai's gonna be
Go,
really
go, go.
great because they had
Stay
the.
now.
What are you trying to say?
Pressor stuff. They keep alternating geo coordinate vectors on
I
those.
don't
That's
think
Also
people
press
tolerate it.
But the space geo's like.
It's
Geo.
aura.
Yeah, you're right.
geos worth the space geos.
Crap out of me.
Look at me using a slang term.
No more lit, by the way. No more lit or FA.
That sounds
Oh,
awful.
great, keep it up, Gaten.
Because then you got the irritation.
What's left?
All right, Northview ready to resume?
No, we use it all the time.
Audrain County ready to resume?
Just 3.
Great.
Forgiven.
5 more toss-ups. We'll resume with 16. Good luck to both teams. Nancy Naumburg photographed the construction of one of these projects, the largest single cause of silicosis in U.S. history. The Raker Act approved one of these projects, first proposed by James D. Phelan. In 1947, Congress restored Ray Lyman Wilbur's original name for one of these projects, which was the Bureau of Reclamation's first mate.
A dam.
20 points.
I was gonna say now.
was doing it the entire time.
Is that 20?
Your bonus, Audrain County. In the 1940s, Billboard magazine began using this phrase in place of race music. 10 points each. Name this phrase that the recording industry used as a catch-all label for secular music made by and marketed towards black Americans.
Guys, we got this. Just 3 out of 4.
I was going to say R&B. I don't know.
Answer?
Spiritual.
It's R&B, rhythm and blues. The ASCAP composers' boycott and musician strike during World War II helped R&B supplant this genre as the dominant style of popular music. Benny Goodman was known as the king of this style.
Yeah.
Swing.
Swing is right. Big Mama Thornton created a hit 1952 recording of this R&B song, though 3 years later, a white artist would record it as a rock and roll song, with Freddie Bell's lyrics like "You Ain't Never Caught a Rabbit" and "Crying All the Time."
Ain't nothing but a hound dog. I don't know.
Different Andrew.
Ain't nothing but a hound dog.
The song's just called Hound Dog, unfortunately.
Oh.
It was indeed Elvis, the white artist. 10 on the bonus.
Next.
Toss-up 17. In a 2022 historical novel in this language, a tubercular engineering student drinks hallucinogenic alcohol while talking with people at a health resort. The Empusium is in this language, as is a novel in which a lieutenant is separated from his love Helena during an uprising. In a novel in this modern language, the author Petronius helps the protagonist look for a Christian princess. A historical trilogy in this language includes With Fire and Sword.
Polish.
10 points for Polish.
I don't know.
Quovius, Medius.
It's not good.
The line before that.
Camden, and your bonus, Audrain County. Yves Chauvin won a third of the 2005 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his work on these reactions. 10 points each. Name these reactions that commonly use transition metal carbene catalysts. In these reactions, two olefins break and regenerate their double bonds, thus exchanging substituents.
Is it Diels-Alder? Is that? Diels-Alder.
It's a metathesis. Olefin metathesis. Most catalysts for olefin metathesis have this property. Unlike homogeneous catalysts, catalysts with this property are in a different phase than their reagents. Answer?
Homogeneous.
They're heterogeneous. Catalysts for olefin metathesis are typically supported by this oxide. It doesn't contain silicon, but this oxide is often used as an abrasive or as a stationary phase in column chromatography.
Oh, aluminum oxide? I don't...
Aluminum oxide.
That's right. 10 on the bonus. Toss up 18. This quantity is increased by the synthetic peptide giapreza. SARS-CoV-2 enters cells by binding its spike protein to an enzyme whose main function is to decrease this...
Blood pressure.
20 points.
Nice.
Good buzz. Your bonus, your bonus, Northview. The tradition of composing poetry at these events was revived by the Qing dynasty in 1756 after it was abolished by the Yuan and Ming dynasties. 10 points each. Name these events that were criticized in a short story as causing the title Kong Yi Ji to become a beggar and a thief.
Exams, like
Yes.
Civil
service examination.
civil service examinations.
Yes. Kong Yi Ji is by this Chinese author who also criticized imperial China in the true story of AQ.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lucian.
Lu Xun satirizes traditional values by having AQ fail to recite lines from a Chinese work in this genre. David Henry Huang titled M. Butterfly for a work in this genre.
Madame Butterfly. Opera?
Opera.
Yeah, I think
Opera.
Yes, a very broad genre. You
Okay,
get
good
30
job.
points.
Go.
Next one, guys.
19. The Ai Petri Mountains border this region's Grand Canyon as well as a resort city home to the Massandra Palace. A port on the southwestern Heracles Peninsula in this region contains a monument to the storming of its Mount Sapun. This land region is separated from the mainland to its north by the hypersaline Saivash Sea. This region's town of Livadia has a Great 3 monument depicting FDR.
Crimea.
20 points.
Oh, guys.
That's right.
Nice try.
Your bonus, David Newmark and William Washer have criticized a 1994 study of these policies, whose results they have failed to replicate. 10 points each. Name these policies that Alan Kruger and David Card analyzed with a difference in differences approach, comparing New Jersey and Pennsylvania unemployment rates.
Minimum wage.
Yes. Difference in differences estimation compares a treatment group with one of these groups. These groups may still experience a placebo effect.
Is it control or is it...
Maybe just
Yeah. Okay. Control group.
okay.
These variables, which satisfy the exclusion restriction, are often used in natural experiments. Kruger and Joshua Angrist used one of these exogenous variables to study the draft. Answer? They're called instruments or instrumental variables. 20 on the bonus. Here is the last toss-up.
Let's get it.
Pope Paul IV's love of this author is supposedly why England is permitted to use the Tridentine Mass. This author...
Agatha Christie.
It's a good buzz!
So we would have lost anyways, doesn't matter.
To top that one, here's your bonus, Audrain County. Dr. Maria Liston studied the skeletons of the sacred band of Thebes who died in this battle. 10 points each. Name this 338 BC battle in which Demosthenes led forces against Philip II of Macedon. Philip's victory in this battle against Athens and Thebes led to Macedonian hegemony over Greece.
You know it. I don't know.
We lost by over.
Answer?
Heraclea.
Cheironeia. This Greek historian from Cheironeia provides the most substantial account of the sacred band of Thebes. This man featured the sayings of Spartan women in his Moralia.
Okay. I don't know.
Answer?
Plutarch.
That's right. An essay in Moralia criticizes this historian for prejudice. This author of the Histories is considered the father of history.
Herodotus.
20 points. That is the game. Final score of 410 Audrain County, 290 for Northview. Good game, both teams. Did you grab something else? Oh yeah, they didn't get Cheironeia. Yep. So close, and yet so far away.
And welcome back to the Rosemont Ballroom. We are here just following round 16 between Audrain County and Northview. The final score on that game, 410 for Audrain County from Missouri and 290 from Northview from Georgia. But it was very close up until the very end, down to the last couple questions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't let this final score don't let the final result, the final score, get you the wrong idea of how close this game was. At the half, it was 170-160. 3/4 mark, 280-240. It just happens that the scholars from Mexico and Missouri got 4 of the last 5 toss-ups, 5 of the last 6, really. So this was a really, really close game. And I got to talk about these freshmen from Northview. They're really good. I mean, they didn't get all the way there, but this Caden kid, they got 4 science powers, all 4 of the science. These kids were absolutely phenomenal on their categories, but it just so happens they got out toss-upped because at the end of the day, they got 1 toss-up out of power that wasn't negged by that wasn't live. They got 2 questions on rebounds, several powers, and then only one of these questions was out of power. So they're absolute monsters at the areas they specialized in, but they still need to sort of fill the holes in the categories they haven't really gotten mastery of. So
yeah.
I look forward to them, though, because, again, these kids are freshmen. They have a lot of time, and they've already seemed to figure out a big part of the game. So
absolutely. And being that impressive on science toss-ups that early is particularly notable,
you
right?
don't see freshmen that good at science, because usually you need kind of that background you get from those high school classes, but this kid's figured it out, I think.
Pretty incredible. Yeah, that's going to serve them well as they go forward in this game over the coming years.
I mean, again, they got second in HSNCT. They're no chumps. They're doing something right here.
Absolutely. Now, one other thing I wanted to bring up was the use of a timeout in this game. We haven't really talked much about timeouts on this feed yet. Do we want to talk a little bit about how those are used, especially in these later rounds?
Yeah, I mean, people love to debate the hot hand or whatever, or momentum, but a lot of people really do feel like that you can use a timeout in a really effective way to stop a team's momentum, because you get that question, the adrenaline flows, you're really feeling yourself on top of your game, you're in the zone. So if you can actually stop that momentum, a lot of teams find that's really helpful. Team starts going to run, call a timeout. HSNCT last year, I read a phenomenal game, back and forth. Teams are within 1 toss-up cycle. Someone decides to call a strategic timeout. They go on a run. Other team, they call a good timeout. They go on a run and end the game right on time. It's something that really can work well.
Yeah, and also one of the ways that having a coach present for your team here can be so helpful. Just having somebody on the ground who's not paying attention to the question content from a deductive perspective, but knows the players well and can tell when they're starting to get out of rhythm, and knows what they might need to be able to get that reset.
Yeah, and even if they're not paying attention to the exact content of the questions, they can at least do some category tracking, say, hey, look, these are probably the 4 things left, because it's a lot of burden on the players to try to keep track of that live, and basically say, hey, you're an absolute biology sicko. Last toss-up, that's going to be bio. This is your time to shine. All you other dweebs, put your buzzers down. You're going to neg.
Absolutely.
Or tell them all to compete. That's probably a better idea. You got to know your personnel, though.
Oh, certainly. Great. Okay, let's talk about a couple of the specific questions in that last game. As a former founder of the Girls Inquisible Committee, I'm always particularly impressed when boys on all-boy teams know feminism content. So I was happy to see that pull on Beauvoir, as well as a toss-up on Alison Bechtel. Very happy to see both of those stay alive with some good answers there. And then I also just wanted to shout out the sheer joy of Ray's buzz on that cello toss-up. Everybody on their team was so excited about that.
These are good. This is good teammate vibes. You got to celebrate your team's success, your teammate's success, because one of you does well, all of you got to eat.
Absolutely.
You want your team a bonus.
It looks like we are just about set up for our next round. Who have we got now?
It looks like we have Lexington. And I should really have a better way of finding this out. Oh, wait, right.
No worries. All right, we've got Lexington versus Hunter over on the other side of the ballroom, and we are going to bring you that game now.
Yeah, we should specify which mic, bro. Dr. Mike.
Doctor.
Not Mike.
Very smart.
Just so they know.
Dr. Nevada Mike.
They were representing their own team.
Ezra Hunter on there.
if your buzzer is constantly covered in red, then like maybe you're constantly buzzing.
After power, all the
Yes.
signs before I see characters.
Bro, it's like
light up.
it's directly in my
True.
mouth.
Forget it. It's a
It's
problem.
like directly
That's not
trying to go
supposed
to
to
my
be.
mouth.
It's supposed to be in.
Okay, can you bend it?
It was like
Oh, I don't have the.
Wait, you don't have a like a
Good
It's
job,
fine,
Mackie.
you
Do you want help?
It's not that big of a deal. You don't have a what? Boom.
phone?
Oh yes.
Turn the other way.
Feel your ears.
Please help me with mics.
There's one.
This feels like a torture device.
Yes, this is true.
These ones got their parents.
This is
Yeah,
me
that's
getting back
enough
at you
pictures.
for trying
This
to
was
threaten
like-
me.
this
Trying
is
to
like-
kill
This
me.
is the
I did not try
paparazzi
to kill
though.
you. You totally, very close to pushing me into a very
Yeah.
fast-moving road.
One clip on mic.
They would be successful.
Maggie,
Thank
put-
you very
Maggie,
much.
put your
Why
buzzer on the
these?
doily.
Use a clip on. Yes, I swear.
Look how we put our buzzers on doilies. Very demure,
Yes,
very
chocolate
mindful.
You know, my mother said that
Yes, chocolate.
over the summer.
Excuse me.
She used to be demure and mindful. I'm like, I'm gonna cry. You can't do this.
Just
Mr.
a whole
Hoover
jug.
once was talking about something or other, and he said and he lost his train of thought, and he said, I was going to say very demure, very mindful, but he did not say that.
It's very Mr. Uner, like, gotta say.
This guy has
Losing his train of thought. last year.
No, I mean like saying that.
It's like
Well,
a
yeah,
steam
those
device.
things.
Helps like an organization.
My favorite
a
ever
lot.
Mr. Hoover saying was one time someone was like sleeping or
read for us before in online.
I can
Yeah,
tell.
yeah, yes, for you.
No, for us. He has a profile picture that's like a spiral galaxy.
Okay, maybe he has read for me. but-
Oh wait, I should probably download.
Mine doesn't have. Is that fine?
Someone stole it. Little souvenir
The
from me.
sleepiness made me
Has it
loopy.
You know what would be a
it's
better
not yet
souvenir?
12. Would a coffee help?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I'm doing that. I
Literally.
have to do
Can I
that.
keep it?
I have to
Can you
do
record
that.
it?
Yeah, I can record it.
Can you record it?
It's okay. I can do it after the round.
Alright, there's gonna
Do
be
they
some,
give live commentary?
there's gonna be
Let's
some
get set
crazy
up
talks
first.
on the first slide.
I
do.
I would kill
Everyone's
for
gonna
one
have
of
a
those
shot taste, and there's gonna be a
Starbucks
coffee
coffee
thing.
I
things.
haven't looked in yet.
Everyone's gonna have a shot.
I'm not first on it. I don't want to manage
The
this,
glass
but-
bottle
So I'm
with the
gonna cough
frappuccino.
directly.
He's gonna buzz
I
last line.
I also
Everyone's
already owe
gonna
Walker
disappoint
money,
with that.
so.
I'm
Actually,
gonna
can I
cough
get one
directly
too?
into the mic.
Samuel.
I'm gonna cough directly into the mic.
Oh, yeah,
It's
you-
gonna be terrible, bro.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
bet
true.
you.
Get two of them. One for me too.
Bro, there's no peace
Nah.
podcast.
Alvana.
I agree.
I think this
Walker,
is the podcast.
Walker, get
essentially.
Walker.
Yeah,
Walker. Get one for
I
me
mean, if it's
too.
that big of an issue, they can always cut it out from the. Because we all have separate things.
Me too, bro. Me too.
Alright, we're ready to start here.
Karthik J.
Welcome back to round 17 of the 2025 PACE NSC Super Playoffs. I have Lexington and Hunter A. I'm going to have the players check the buzzers, say their names and your year or a fun fact or whatever you feel like saying. Starting over here with Lexington.
I'm Melody. I'm a sophomore.
Adi.
Adi, my name is Adi.
That is a fun fact.
I'm Shashir.
I'm Alvan.
And over here,
I'm
Hunter.
not doing the year thing.
And Maggie.
Yeah.
Dune.
Evan, and I recovered from my sunburn.
Theo.
I would like to note that I have not recovered from my sunburn. It's still peeling. It's awful.
Ugh.
When did you get like an island?
Well, now
Yes.
everyone knows. Alright, are both teams ready to begin?
Yep.
Good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Start with toss-up number 1. Good luck, both teams. Description acceptable. The Council of Five Elders immediately ended one of these conflicts after taking power.
Japanese invasion of Korea.
That's 20 points.
Nice.
That's a pretty good buzz, I guess. Major bonus, this author's book, Last Witnesses, collects testimonies of World War II from people who were children at the time. Then Quintich named this Belarusian Nobel laureate, whose oral histories include War's Unwomanly Face, the first book in her series, Voices of Utopia.
Alexievich.
Alright.
Alexievich?
Yep.
Nice.
Alexievich has helped inspire an HBO series with a book about this 1986 event, subtitled The Oral History of a Nuclear Disaster.
Chernobyl.
Hundreds of prisoners' recollections helped inform this 1973 book by another Nobel laureate about the Soviet penal system, whose subtitle calls it an experiment in literary investigation.
Gulag Archipelago.
You get 30
30.
points.
Google Docs. I didn't
Toss up
see
2.
reference.
3 joined upright cylinders perform this technique in a device invented by Hoffmann. When run in reverse, regenerative fuel cells act as devices that perform this technique. Chlorine bubbles are produced as a byproduct of this technique in
Electrolysis.
20 points.
Nice.
I did know that.
For Adi. And Lexington, your bonus. This book's chapter, Tyranny is Tyranny, claims that the economic elite who led the Revolutionary War created the most effective system of national control devised in modern times. Then Quintich named this anti-nationalist book that opens by depicting Columbus's arrival in Hispaniola from the Arawak's perspective.
I know 14 is not.
It's enough.
New beginnings.
This is A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. The book's second chapter argues that the color line was created to pacify these people by distinguishing them from slaves. These servants worked without pay for a set amount of time.
Indentured servants.
Yeah.
Zinn traced the discontent of poor white settlers to this 1676 uprising in which Governor William Berkeley was targeted before a city was burned.
Bacon's Rebellion?
Yes.
Good.
Oops. 20 on the bonus. Toss up 3. A woman in this story complains about women being turned out of choirs for whippersnappers of boys before a black gaiety tenor is praised. A man in this story asks why Trappist monks sleep in coffins. During a toast in this story, a man confuses women by calling them the Three Graces and the dead. 20 points.
Nice.
Your bonus. Hunter Rose Yu led the development of a 2023 Generative Adversarial Network, or GAN, for the discovery of these properties. 10 points each. Name these properties that correspond to elements of certain groups, like the Lorentz group. Noether's theorem relates conservation laws to these properties.
Is it like extrinsic, intrinsic, or something?
Intrinsic properties?
Sure.
Answer.
Intrinsic.
These are symmetries.
Okay.
The GAN is named for this mathematician's theory. The exponential map connects this mathematician's namesake algebra to groups that behave as differentiable manifolds.
Who has algebras?
Else.
Answer?
Sure.
Else.
Lie. Sophus Lie. L-I-E. By studying n-body simulations, Ligan rediscovered the restricted Lorentz group and the group of these transformations. In this transformation, an object moves around its own axis.
Rotation.
Yes.
Yes.
10
Thank
points.
you, David.
Timeout.
What? Oh.
I should have gotten those.
Actual timeout or?
You out one.
Thank you.
Should've gone
Thank
with
you.
What
those.
is our drinks?
That's true.
I don't think I can open mine,
I
but
lost my
it's
water.
okay.
Sensible use of
Oh, no,
coaching
it's
tools.
here.
I've been
never
able to
mind.
drink water this entire time.
Hunter, are you ready to continue?
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think Theo also needs help.
No, it's okay. My hands are
You're
sweaty.
welcome.
You want to make sure to get it open first?
Sure.
Yep.
Enjoy.
You got timeout left. There you go.
Never had a
All right,
frappuccino
ready to go?
before.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
We will resume with toss of 4. Good luck, both teams. In one essay, this thinker described adopting the religion but discarding the morals of G.E. Moore while studying at Cambridge. E.F. Schumacher's multilateral clearing paper influenced this thinker's Bancor proposal at a 1944 conference. A chapter by this Bloomsbury group member uses the Cartesian phrase animal spirits to describe irrational behavior.
Canes.
20 points.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Your bonus. Lexington, a subgenre of this genre called tobakia, depicted smoking instruments and was popular in the Netherlands. 10 points each. Name this genre of art depicting inanimate objects such as flowers, fruit, and coins.
Still lives.
Yes. Willem Klaas Heda made many works in the vanitas genre, paintings that remind the viewer of their mortality through elements known by this two-word term, such as skulls, rotting food, and extinguished
What's
candles.
it called? What's the word for death?
Mortis?
Mori. Shit.
Answer?
Mortis Mori.
Memento Mori.
Memento
Got the
Mori.
right idea. This 18th century French artist found great success with still life paintings such as Basket of Plums and The Ray. This artist also delighted the salon with idealized domestic scenes like Saying Grace.
Chardin.
Very good.
Nice.
20 on the bonus. The cat in The Ray is delightful. Toss up 5. A party to protect people from an organization that provides this service was founded by Japanese populist Takashi Tachibana. U.S. companies offering this service have faced declining revenue pledged in upfronts. A conglomerate run by Sherry Redstone has been hurt by a decline in linear consumption of this service. In 2022, the UK froze increases in the mandatory license fee required to receive this service.
TV.
Yes, 10
Oh,
points.
nice.
What is it?
TV.
Television. Your bonus. Hunter. Hindus are taught not to step on books out of reverence for this goddess. 10 points each. Name this Hindu goddess often seen holding a book in one of her 4 hands. Children are taught to write for the first time during a celebration for this Hindu goddess of wisdom.
Lakshmi, Parvati.
It's one of the two.
Lakshmi sounds right.
Or Parvati.
Parvati.
Sarasvati.
Okay.
Sarasvati is often depicted with clothes and a swan of this color that represents purity. Sky-clad Digambara Jains are contrasted with the Shvetambara Jains, who are clad in this color.
I think it's white.
Yeah. White.
Yes.
Okay.
Sarasvati is also depicted holding a pot of water that sometimes symbolizes this drink. This drink is extracted from a plant of the same name, which is discussed in the 9th mandala of the Rig Veda.
I do not know. This is not ghee.
Lotus juice or something.
Wait, what did you say?
This is not ghee.
Answer.
Ghee is milk
Lotus
tea.
juice.
That's Soma.
Oh.
Okay.
On the bonus, here's toss of 6. A 1958 essay draws on an ancient philosopher's classification of these concepts by asking if their intellectual type has a moral aspect. These concepts title a book that compares today's dark age with a world where science is destroyed by Alistair McIntyre. G.E.M. Anscombe's modern moral philosophy helped spark the Arataic turn, which
Linguistics.
No, that's not correct. which repopularized an ethical theory based on these concepts, often contrasted with both deontology and consequentialism. Pursuing these concepts results in a flourishing called eudaimonia, according to a book that views them as the golden mean between two negative extremes. For 10 points, Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics argues for the pursuit of what opposites of vices?
Virtues.
10 points.
Vice and virtues, like
your
Haley,
bonus,
let's go.
Hunter. There we go. Your bonus. People were buried with boat-shaped axes in the battle axe culture that likely brought the Indo-European language to this region. For 10 points each, name this multinational region where many ship burials were conducted by the Norse.
Scandinavia.
Yes. The pre-Indo-European culture, supplanted by the battle axe culture, made collective graves called dolmens out of these objects. The name for a kind of these objects, called menhirs, comes from the Breton language.
Stones.
Yes. The battle axe culture was an offshoot of a culture named for producing corded examples of this product. Pieces of this product are called ostraka, which is the root word of ostracism.
Pottery.
30 points.
Nice.
Toss up 7. Widespread smuggling of this good in Britain was reduced via the 1784 Commutation Act. A company that made its fortune selling this good built Art Deco corner houses and is called J. Lyons & Co. Queen Catherine of Braganza popularized the non-medicinal use of this good in England. Smuggler Robert Fortune broke an Asian monopoly on
tea.
20 points.
Nice.
Your bonus, Hunter. At the end of a story by this author, a young man who escaped to Rita's house reluctantly hands Rita a stick to beat a slave. 10 points each. Name this author who, in one story, wrote about the madness of the title psychiatrist who confines both healthy and sick people to the greenhouse.
Anyone?
Haven't heard of this. I don't know.
Sounds like Morrison.
Sure. Gilman.
Machado de Assis.
Okay.
Machado de Assis is best known for a novel written as the fictional memoir of Bras Cubas after one of these events. A collection of sonnets by a different author is titled for one of these events that occurred to Romelio Ureta.
Death.
Yes. Esteban Trueba builds the title house of this Isabel Allende novel after the tragic death of his fiancée Rosa the Beautiful.
The House of the Spirits.
You get 20 points. Toss up 8. A print of a photograph of this location by Charles Leander Weed was used to advertise a hotel owned by James Mason Hutchings. Carlton Watkins created photographic views of this location with a mammoth plate camera. It's not in New Mexico, but a photograph taken in this location, subtitled Winter Sunrise, was created by an artist who photographed a different landmark in
Yosemite.
10 points.
Nice.
Your bonus. Karina Heller and Laura Pritchett performed dense sampling studies of their own brains while on and off this type of medication. 10 points each. Name this type of medication with 150 million global users. POP is a class of these medications contrasted with combined ones that can include ethinyl estradiol.
They're SSRI.
Try it.
Sure.
SSRIs.
Birth control pills. Contraceptives. Heller and Pritchett used this brain scanning technique with a 3-letter name whose functional type targets specific regions.
MRI.
Yes. Heller found that birth control decreased brain volume and a property named for this word that is measured with fMRI bold data. With the suffix ohm, this word names whole brain maps of neural pathways.
Neurogram. Sure. Neurogram.
No, connect. It's a connectome. 10 on the bonus. Toss up 9. A murderer, a priest, and an archaeologist search for ancient American artifacts in this author's collaborative novel Caverns, written by his creative writing class. A speech in a novel by this author divides people into rabbits and wolves and is given by Harding. In a novel by this author, the motto, never give an inch...
Cassie.
Good buzz.
Good buzz.
20 points. Your bonus, Lexington. A Nobel-winning physicist from this country showed how the unique harmonics of one of its drums were generated by combining two inhomogeneous circular membranes. 10 points each. Name this largest country home to a fretted instrument with over a dozen sympathetic strings called the sitar.
India.
Yes. India's two main classical traditions are the northern Hindustani tradition, whose performers improvise around modes called ragas, and this southern tradition, whose musicians perform existing compositions.
Carnatic.
Carnatic music is accompanied by this two-sided drum made from the jackfruit tree. Shiva legendarily invented the tabla by cutting this drum in half.
Mridangam.
30 points.
Nice.
And toss up 10, after which is halftime. The memory required by these data structures can be reduced by storing only the bitwise XOR of two opposite values. Hitoto Mata and Noshita introduced a technique to manipulate these structures that Donald Knuth popularized as dancing. In hash tables, the separate chaining typically uses these structures to store colliding keys. The roots of a Fibonacci heap are placed into a circular one of these structures. These structures feature constant time insertion without shifting and can be reversed by iterating over current, previous, and next values for the pointers that connect their nodes either
Q's?
No.
Okay.
Correct. Either singly or doubly. For 10 points, name these linear data structures that are often conflated with arrays.
Linked list.
That's what I need.
Nice. That's bad.
get 10 and this bonus. All right, I will.
Get that.
Huh? Oh, I see it. Okay. Description acceptable. Leto granted this boon to Leucippus, or Lysippus, to protect him from the ire of his father Lamprus. 10 points each. Name or describe this boon that Isis granted to Iphis, a youth betrothed to Ianthe. In addition to being vulnerable to weapons, Caeneus received this other boon from Neptune.
Changing gender.
Oh,
Changing
yeah.
gender.
Yes. Nice. Leucippus, Iphis, and Cyproetes, who was turned into a woman by Artemis, were all natives of this Greek island. Daedalus built the labyrinth for Minos, the king of this island.
Yeah.
Crete. Hera punishes this figure for hitting a pair of mating snakes by turning him into a woman for 7 years. In the underworld, this figure tells Odysseus how to get past Scylla and Charybdis.
No, it's the
It's
seer.
an epic.
Tiresias.
Tiresias. Ah.
30 points.
Nice.
That is the half. I have a score at the half of 190 for Hunter A, 180 for Lexington.
Oh, wow.
Very good game thus
Well,
far.
the amount
We
of
are having
changing
fun.
gender myth common links that exist are like
Coffee really does work.
literally 9,000.
Yeah.
Very sweet coffee. It's so sweet. How much sugar does this thing have?
A lot. It's 75%.
43 grams.
Give it in terms of
Cassie loves
boba.
1 ounce
Give it in
sugar.
terms of boba. How much sugar
I
is
guess
it?
it's. Nah, I think
It's not the caffeine, it's the sugar.
Yeah.
mixed up.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah.
Just get your size. That's all.
Bro, the linked list, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think I would have.
43 grams sugar is
Conflated with the
pretty.
release.
And if you keep drinking it, maybe you won't crash.
This is probably
That's the demo strategy, right?
I don't. Oh.
Conflated with-
70%.
conflated with
No,
the
this is
release,
honestly only like 70 or 50% sugar.
Oh.
I would have said rose, bro.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah, from going on.
See,
yeah,
that's not how I
I'm
usually
gonna
think of it being
I'll just-
pronounced.
It
That's
looks
good.
like a
Just-
stradiol.
It's just the
What-
side
Yeah.
sometimes.
That's what matters.
I usually just see it written. Also, I don't know anything about birth
Lock in.
control.
Yeah, lock it.
I should.
I don't know what the biting strategy is. I just need to get content, my content.
I
Because
love how it makes me
Let's
learn
try.
these things
I-
because I had a different
Lots of
teacher because it makes me feel like
That
I have
was
a
the
lot less
lowest
pressure on
test
me.
grade I got all year, so
Get it
don't
right.
hold me to it.
I'm pretty sure I literally failed my very last bio test.
The final?
No, like
Bio and
AP
physics.
bio.
Oh.
I didn't fail any of your tests.
What are you manifesting for bio?
I'm manifesting. I'm manifesting.
Yeah,
power.
no. I think
Butter
it's.
pea basil.
Doesn't that
I think I'm
mean
going to get
something
above
you
50 on this
agree
last
on?
test, at least.
No, it means Mr. Park is
I
teaching.
think
Man,
40
this
is,
is true.
40
Doesn't
is
work,
lower than the
actually.
average for my like the college Linal
I was about to
midterm
add-
and
Get this
final.
down to a science.
But
Wow.
he
Doesn't
doesn't like
stop.
All right, we've got everything worked out. Are both teams ready to continue?
Yeah.
Let's go. Hunter,
Yeah.
good to go? Great.
Yep.
As a reminder, scores 190, 180. We'll resume with toss-up 11. Good luck, both teams. A novella by this author describes a flawed entanglement with the married Beatrice and a 72-year-old Polish concert pianist. That novella by this author was published alongside short stories centered on a character who wrote a reimagining of Ulysses titled The House on Eccles Street.
Coatsy.
20 points.
Good.
Nice.
Great buzz.
Fantastic buzz.
Okay.
And your bonus, during this dynasty, Hassan al-Rama proposed a combustible egg, the world's first rocket-propelled torpedo. 10 points each. Name this dynasty that stopped Mongol expansion at Ain Jalut after divisions of Burji murdered al-Salih Ayyub's heir in the 1250s.
Mamluk.
Yes. In a manuscript for al-Nasir Muhammad, al-Jazari illustrated one of these devices built into the structure of an elephant. Ibn al-Haytham built one of these devices that dipped a cylinder in a tank.
Clock.
Yes. Ibn al-Nafis documented metabolism during the Mamluk Sultanate while at a hospital begun by this first Ayyubid Sultan, who led Muslim forces against an English king in the Third Crusade.
Saladin.
30 points.
Good.
Toss up 12. A work named for these objects is the topic of essays in a kaleidoscope by Jean Reeves, who wrote a modern translation of it. Excuse me. Tara rose out of one of these objects created from Avalokiteshvara's tree Tears. A mantra and common metaphor refers to a jewel in one of these objects. Toy cars that lure children out of a burning house illustrate skillful means in a text named for these objects.
Lotus.
10 points.
Good buzz. They said time.
Your bonus, element 117, tennessine, was discovered by bombing berkelium with this element. 10 points each. Name this element, whose bombardment was used to synthesize 4 other super heavy elements. This element's isotope 48 is the lightest nuclide to undergo double beta decay.
Beta decay. I was gonna say calcium, but am I just
Answer.
calcium?
Yes.
Okay.
2 of the 6 naturally occurring isotopes of calcium are stable because their numbers of protons and neutrons are both this type of number. Because flerovium-298 and unbihexium-310 are doubly this type of number, they are thought to land in an island of stability.
Magic.
Yes.
Nice.
The bombardment used to create tennessine is a form of this nuclear process which turns hydrogen into helium.
Hydrogen. Oh, fusion. Fusion.
30 points.
That was bad.
Good work.
Toss up 13. Cupid sends a
Clear.
strike. Sorry, thought I did. Cupid sits astride a dolphin in one of many works in this medium in Fishbourne, England. A work in this medium in who Coke unusually depicts Samson tying torches to foxes' tails. Scantily clad figures play sports in a work in this medium nicknamed for its Bikini Girls. A military leader wears a breastplate emblazoned with Medusa's head in a depiction of the Battle of Issus in this medium.
Mosaic.
10 points.
Yeah, nice.
The big one.
Your bonus. Scholarly interest in this concept spiked in response to a 2015 paper examining all-cause mortality of middle-aged white non-Hispanic men and women. 10 points each. Give this alliterative term that Anne Case and Angus Deaton used to denote deaths caused by economic and social insecurity, like suicides and overdoses.
Oh. Social death.
Social suicide. No.
Answer?
No
They're
answer.
deaths of despair.
Ah.
Addiction to this class of drugs may causes many deaths of despair. These drugs are exemplified by oxycodone and fentanyl.
Oh, opioids, yeah.
Deaths of despair are more common among people with low values of this variable. Thomas Piketty coined the term Brahmin left to describe a political faction with high levels of this variable.
Who's that is?
Wealth. Wealth.
Wealth.
Education.
Okay.
10 on the
That makes
bonus.
sense.
2014, the MAN2A1 gene encodes an enzyme that acts on these molecules, after which they become endo-H resistant. The antibiotic tunicamycin inhibits the transfer of one of these molecules. Tree-like diagrams use colored polygons to represent examples of these molecules like the acid NANA, or NANA, and the amide derivative glicnac, which composes chitin. Different alleles of the ABO gene cause erythrocytes...
Like, blood type?
No. Fuck. Nope. To present different types of these molecules, giving rise to ABO blood types. A post-translational modification that adds these molecules to proteins has N-linked and O-linked types that respectively occur in the ER and the Golgi. For 10 points, name these molecules named with the suffix -ose, like glucose.
Sugars.
Yes.
Would you have taken glycoproteins earlier?
I would have prompted you by asking what constituent molecules. Here is your bonus, Hunter. In The Cocktail Party, Celia meets death in this specific manner after joining a nursing order in Kinkanja. 10 points each. Medieval passion plays depict Jesus' death by what manner?
Crucifixion.
Yes. This playwright wrote The Cocktail Party. This playwright wrote about an unreal city where St. Mary Woolnoth kept the hours in a poem that ends Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Eliot.
Yes. In this T.S. Eliot verse drama, 4 tempters appear to the main character, St. Thomas Becket, who responds that the greatest treason is to do the right thing for the wrong reason.
It's like Murder in the Cathedral, I think.
That sounds right.
Murder in the Cathedral.
It's exactly like that. You get 30 points. Also 15. A failed scheme to provide 32,000 mirrors to these people spurred a young Johannes Gutenberg to focus his efforts on the printing press. A great event named for German examples of these people was led by Gunther of Bamberg.
Witches?
No. Not witches. In 1064, in the Middle Ages, these people donned fertility badges and scallop shells. Book 5 of the Codex Calixtinus instructed these people on what to do in Galicia. The artist Cimabue became one of these people to participate in the 1299 Jubilee. These people might follow the way of St. James. Protecting these people from harassment in the Levant was a frequent justification for new crusades. For 10 points, name these people who traveled to places like Rome or Jerusalem for religious purposes.
Pilgrims.
For 10. Your bonus, 48% of Italy's electricity is generated from the 900 or so hydroelectric plants on this river. 10 points each. Name this rapidly deteriorating river that flows through Cremona.
What if it's the Po?
Po? Yes.
Nice.
One consequence of the Po Valley drying up is less reliance on water-hungry crops, such as this one. Cultivars such as Sorelli and Dori make Italy the leading producer of this fruit, most famously grown in a country that markets this fruit under the brand Zespri.
Figs, maybe?
Try it.
That sounds right.
Figs?
Kiwi.
Oh, what?
Zespri's from New Zealand. Post-war automation of rice farms in the Po Valley sent many farmers to work in the factories of this city, the capital of Piedmont. This host city of the 2006 Winter Olympics is home to a chapel housing its namesake burial shroud of Jesus.
Turin.
Turin. Yes.
Torino.
Time out.
Yes. It's contagious.
I left
At
the water
the
bottle in
three-quarter
the
mark,
restroom.
Lexington having called timeout, the score is Hunter 280, Lexington 270.
Oh, wow.
It remains a nail-biter.
Incredible. I left
Go
the
to
water
the
bottle in the
sun.
other
Everyone's coughing.
Everybody
Jesus
needs some
Christ.
water?
Okay. I will be fine.
Anybody need a cough drop?
We're knocking on the door.
I could do for one, actually.
Yeah.
Do I?
Just one.
Do they actually have them?
I can't tell if that guy's hat has Ferrari on it. I'm really curious.
0 to 10.
I can't see
I
that.
could get a subtitle.
Am I allowed to?
But I think
I
I've
mean,
run
it
through
looks
all
like
the
a
subcats.
black
It's on cooldown
thing
right
on
now.
a yellow background.
0 to 10.
Oh,
so
it
pass
is?
to the top.
We're literally flexing game now.
0 to 10.
There's 5
0 to
to
5, good. There's 5.
I mean, the big leagues now.
0 to 10. That's the score.
Woohoo.
Oh, yeah,
Do
you're
we
right.
know? Oh,
Yeah.
You guys ready to continue?
0 to
dumb
negative.
question.
Hunter, ready to continue?
I suppose we are.
All right. Once again, where's my... There we go. As a reminder, going into toss of 16, 280, 270. Good luck, both teams. Assuming equal ion temperature, the square of a form of this quantity is proportional to T over NQ squared. TIRFM exploits the low value of this quantity achieved by the evanescent wave. Fritz and Heinz London name a form of this quantity that describes magnetic fields in superconductors. A small value for this quantity, denoted delta, describes an exponential decay in alternating current density due to eddies in the skin effect. The decrease in electric field strength with this quantity due to screening is described by two forms of this quantity, named for Thomas and Fermi, and for Debye. This quantity is squared in the denominator of
Length?
Yes.
Good.
I knew that.
Length or distance. You get 10 points. And this bonus, Lexington. Identify the following about the policies of public forgetting for 10 points each. Spain's Pact of Forgetting was complicated by the existence of this monument near Madrid, effectively a shrine to Francisco Franco built with convict labor. Franco's body was exhumed from this monument in 2019.
Is it Valley of the Fallen? Valley of the Fallen?
Yes. In his book In Praise of Forgetting, David Reef argued that this agreement that spared Slobodan Milosevic was better than a punitive prosecution. This agreement, named for an American city, ended the Bosnian War.
Dayton Accords?
Yes. In 1996, King Norodom Sihanouk granted mass amnesty to both political prisoners and many perpetrators of the genocide committed in this Southeast Asian country by the Khmer Rouge.
Cambodia?
30 points.
30.
Nice.
Toss-up 17. Before Akhenaten's own attempt, a long-lived Hyksos ruler named for this figure may have practiced a form of monotheism centered around Set. In Hour 10 of the Book of Gates, this figure is held down with nets. The Book of Overthrowing this figure includes spells that spit on and trample on this figure with the left foot. In some traditions, this figure sprang from the spit of the goddess Nath. A painting in Deir el-Medina depicts this figure being attacked by his rival in the form of a cat. This figure's magical gaze alone...
Apophis?
Yes,
Nice.
10 points.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Oh
my god.
Apep or Apophis, good work. Your bonus, Ekman transport causes these structures to bulge as much as 1 meter in their centers. 10 points each. Name these largest persistent oceanic flow structures. These rotating structures are driven by constant sine wind stress curls and dominate flow within ocean basins.
Gyres?
Yes.
Nice.
This scientist's balance is exemplified by the stationarity of ocean gyres despite constant sine wind stress curl. This scientist names a unit for oceanic volumetric flow rate that equals 1 million cubic meters per second.
No.
Coriolis, I don't know. Sure, yes.
Humboldt.
Sverdrup. Harl
That's
Sverdrup.
interesting.
Gyres feature flows driven by geostrophic balance, in which the pressure gradient force is opposed by this hemisphere-specific fictitious force.
Coriolis effect.
Yes.
There we go.
20 points on the
That's
bonus.
Coriolis.
Toss of 18. This composer claimed that the only pianist who played his transcriptions of peasant dances called Slaughter with the right feeling was his ardent champion Percy Granger. This composer used a melody beginning 4 Gs, then G, E, F, in a collection's first and last pieces, a waltz called Remembrances.
Grieg.
20 points.
Nice.
Okay.
Here's your bonus. A person from this place says, time is tied to the wrist, and rain is when the earth is television, in a poem by Craig Rain. 10 points each. Name this place where Illa dreams of the poem Drink to Me Only with Thine Eyes. A story named for this place as Chronicles includes a story collection named for this place as Chronicles includes Usher 2 and There Will Come Soft Rains.
Okay, Mars.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Yes, The Martian Chronicles were written by this author. A man recites Consider the Lilies of the Field to drown out subway advertising in this author's novel Fahrenheit 451.
Bradbury.
Yes, this U.S. Poet Laureate from 2017 to 19 wrote the collection Life on Mars. This author of Ordinary Light wrote A Pair of Eyes, the most remarkable lies in My God, It's Full of Stars.
Is it Gluck?
Is it Adelimon?
Sure.
Adelimon?
Now would be a good time to guess Smith. It's Tracy K. Smith.
Okay.
Cool.
20 on the
Can I
bonus.
get a score check?
Yes, you can. 350 for Hunter, 310 for Lexington with
Yeah.
2 toss-ups
Yes.
left.
Cool.
Choice.
Yes, 19. This movement included a baroness who coined portmanteaus like Kiss Ambushed and wrote Body Sweats, Elsa von Freitag Loringhoven.
Dadaism.
20 points.
Nice.
Pretty good buzz. Your bonus. Identify the following about Yara Zimmerman, a fictional Czech equivalent of Forrest Gump who appears at important moments in history for 10 points each. Zimmerman is said to have carried 45 tubs of radioactive pitch blende to this scientist, who shared a 1903 Nobel Prize with her husband Pierre.
Marie Curie.
Yes. Chimramon supposedly titled this Anton Chekhov play, which opens with Irina celebrating her name day. Lovesick Major Alexander Vershinin is another character in this play.
3 sisters.
Yes, according to legend, 2 Sisters was Chekhov's original title before Chimramon asked him, should there be more? In a complicated story involving watchmaking, Chimramon introduced this discipline to Switzerland. A device used in this medical field was a secret tool of the trade in the Chamberlain family and was used by Dr. Slop in Tristram Shandy.
Oh, circumcision.
That's obstetrics, or OB.
Okay.
Tied.
It's the forceps.
Okay.
You get 20 on the bonus, which means, of course, that the score is tied going into toss-up 20.
Lovely.
And here's that toss-up. James Lee testified that this state ordered Choice Point to populate a database with anyone who matched 80% of a felon's last name. In this state, John Sweeney's cry to shut it down ignited well-dressed protesters in the Brooks Brothers riot.
Florida.
20 points.
Nice!
Your bonus in an opera by this composer, Claggart sings in F minor while Billy Budd sings in E major. 10 points each. What English composer used the same key relationship to represent the maladjustment of Peter Grimes? This composer wrote The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra.
Benjamin Britten.
Yes, the similar polychord E-flat major over E minor appears in Golaud's theme from this 1902 opera, which depicts a love triangle in the fictional medieval kingdom of Allemande.
You know?
I wasn't paying attention to that at all.
I don't know. Ariadne of Naxos.
Pelléas et Mélisande by
okay.
Debussy.
Cool.
This opera's climactic polychord F-sharp major over A dominant 7th has been called the most sickening chord in all opera. This 1905 opera contains the Dance of the Seven Veils.
Salome. 20
points. That is the game. Final score 390 Hunter, 350 Lexington. Very good game, both teams.
Good game.
Can you help me take?
Yes. Oh, teams, if you're willing to answer some brief interview questions, you can walk over to where...
And there you have it. We have a final score decided on that last toss-up of 390 for Hunter A and 350 for Lexington. What a game.
Incredibly close. Turns out that timeout Coach gives one timeout just to give kids some coffee. It turns out that really paid off.
Absolutely, yeah. Some great timeout work from both teams there. Lots we can discuss in terms of strategy between the teams. But we do have some interviews with the players right now from our colleague Samir, so we are going to go there.
Hey there, I'm Samir Sarma, and we are live on the field just as the conclusion of this absolutely nail-biting Hunter versus Lexington game has concluded. I am here with... Let me turn your mic on real quick. Okay, do you mind introducing yourself to the camera? It's just right there.
Here?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
My name is Audrain Hussein. I'm from Lexington. I'm a sophomore.
So, Lexington is coming to NSC with a bit of a very high win recently, coming in first place at HSNCT 2 weeks ago, and putting a very strong performance at this.
That's Livingston.
So, Lexington is coming off of a very strong performance at this tournament at NSC. What would you say inspires you all to keep improving and participating in the game?
I think we all like winning and we all like studying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not studying, but like knowing stuff that's interesting.
Yeah. Have you guys gotten confused with Lexington, Kentucky? My team's here.
Not yet.
That's fair. And how do you imagine the rest of this tournament going for you as we head into lunch and head into...
It's gonna be pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Arnav, thank you. Wait, what was your...
Alvan.
Alvan, thank you for speaking to me. And what? Yeah, enjoy the rest of your games. We will cut back to Chloe and Andrew.
And there you have it, the word from the field. Let's see. So, it was a very tight game all the way through. Lexington got off to an early lead, but by the half, Hunter A was leading by 10. That's in large part due to Captain Evan Schleck, and we're going to go to an interview with Evan right now.
Hi there, I'm back, and we are here with...
Evan Schleck from Hunter.
So, Evan, you've just managed to clinch a very exciting game, and we've seen that you and your teammates, as well as your coach, seem to be very close, working together, consulting with each other during halftime and timeouts. Can you speak a little bit about how that's impacted your game?
Yeah, Hunter, we're a pretty small school, so we all see each other all the time. And Quiz Bowl has just become very tight-knit because we tend to retain our players. I've known Dune for 5 years, ever since he was a freshman, a 7th grader. That's pretty crazy. And we've just built up good relationships over the course of the years, and that really factors into our gameplay. Because, like, you know, if you're all positive, then you don't really let it get to your head if you have a bit of a loss.
Yeah, that's a great mindset. And one bittersweet thing about being so close is that this is going to be your last NSC as a graduating senior.
Sure.
How do you feel about that?
Trying to end it on a high note.
Yeah. Well, Evan, I'll let you get off and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll cut back to Chloe and Andrew.
That's Evan Schleck from Hunter. They head off to their next game as we are heading into the last championship game of this bracket, after which we'll take a look at the records and we'll figure out which games need to happen to determine final standings for this top 8 bracket. Let's talk a little bit about how that game unfolded. We're learning from our colleagues that Hunter got significantly more points on their bonuses, or sorry, the other way around. Excuse me.
Hunter out-tossed Lexington 12-8. Lexington had incredibly good bonus conversion, so this was close up until the very end, as we saw. I mean, it was it was tied at the last toss-up. No,
it was tied going into the last toss-up. That's right.
Lexington, these kids just know so much that even if they're getting less than half the toss-ups, you need to be on your A game and get significant bonus conversion and a lot of toss-ups to even be on pace with these kids. And they had some unfortunate incorrect interrupts, we'll call them, and that was the difference, it seems.
Yeah, I do wonder if age and experience did come into play there. Obviously, these players incredibly strong and incredibly impressive, particularly for being a junior varsity team, but I do wonder if a little bit more experience behind the buzzer might have led them to show a little bit more restraint on that buzzer. Particularly, we've talked before, science, a weak spot for Hunter oftentimes, and 2 of those incorrect answers were on STEM toss-ups. Maybe if they'd waited a few more clues, they would have been able to snatch them.
But it's hard because, you know, it's not just, you know, about playing smart, but sometimes you just have a little pride, and sometimes you just have to, you think you know a clue, you just have to go for it.
Of course, and when you're this good, it's easy to think that you're right because you so often are.
Although, you know, in a sense, I'd like to think the real science players are the ones who, well, you know, Lexington wasn't, you know, they weren't upset about it, but I think there's a certain breed of science player where there's almost a charm to an early buzz, slightly wrong answer, and outrage.
Fair enough. Yeah, it is a tradition of sorts. All right, let's talk a little bit about that point at toss-up, going into toss-up 19, when Hunter was up by just about a cycle. We talked a little bit behind the scenes about the strategy for both teams in that moment. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I had a lot of insights for both teams, but Hunter at this point, they're up by enough that if they secure this toss-up, they win outright. So it's really, really, really in their interest at that point to be super duper aggressive, because the risk reward is, you know, the reward is you just win the game on the spot. So, and the worst case scenario is you have to play it out in the next toss-up. Turns out you can't play that aggressively when Lexington's buzzing on the first possible word. But yeah. it is what it is.
Absolutely. We do have an update for everybody going into this final round of the championship bracket. There's going to be a slight switch to the schedule of gameplay so that we can bring the Lexington Strake Jesuit A game into this room, Rosemont Ballroom, so that you all have a chance to take a peek at this very important game with championship implications. Mm-hmm. Do we want to say a little bit about that and where things stand at the moment?
Yeah, so Strake Jesuit's currently undefeated. Lexington currently has 1 loss. So this is functionally the first game of an advantage final. Strake Jesuit wins this outright. They win the tournament outright and don't even need to play a final because they'd be undefeated. Everyone else cleared by 2.
Exactly.
But if Lexington wins this, we have 2 X1 teams and they force a final.
Yes, very, very exciting. We'll have to see how that all plays out. Would you mind scrolling back up to the just for 1 second? Thank you.
Shoot.
I was just going to point out that we see in their stat lines from this Super Playoffs stage what we were talking about before with Lexington's advantage as well. They do have an incredibly high PPB. I feel pretty confident saying that's the highest in the field right now at 23.04. For a set at the difficulty of NSC, that's almost unheard of. Pretty incredible.
And it's not just like these other players are chumps, but like they're clearing them by almost 2 points per bonus. That's crazy. That is a lot of hard parts they're getting.
Absolutely, especially since Strake Jesuit does have the second highest points per bonus in this bracket. It's still 2 points behind Lexington's at the moment. However, their PPG is about 20 points higher, maybe half a cycle or so. And as we just saw, Lexington is coming into this meetup with 1 loss.
Real exciting game coming forward then.
Absolutely.
This determines if we get to see more of the tournament or not. So,
and
or
they
if we
are
have a champion.
Well, either way, there are going to be some games to play out for third and whatnot. So stay with us through the afternoon. But for now, we're going to bring you round 18 between Strake Jesuit A and Lexington.
Yo, what are you rackets? Valedictory speeches. Adi. I didn't put them down.
Okay. I didn't play one. It's like, yeah.
Bro, name one team we can't beat, bro. I can't, bro. Bro, if we lock in, we can beat 2023 Barrington, bro. I can beat 2027 Lex. Actually, no, that's not bro. That's not how it works, bro.
Lock in, we can beat 2024 Stanford.
Is Stanford good?
One ICT, or they won ACF Nats.
Oh, that's why they destroyed us, bro. During Dart.
It's Stanford? What? Stanford is from California.
below your mouth?
I thought you were talking about Yale, bro.
Yale's solid.
Okay. Wait, so should it be it's like below your mouth? Or is
Oh.
Oh, you just that. Okay. That's a good question. So it's like a wire or like you use wire and move it. Okay.
Me too.
Hey, wait. He's taking a picture of us.
Okay.
Okay, don't smoke. Okay. Take another one. We aren't looking.
If we had won the Hunter game,
Doesn't matter.
No,
I actually don't want to hear it. There's no offense.
no, I'm just asking. Would it be a normal single final?
I don't know.
I feel like I should tell my mom this.
No. We
They're
would
in
play
straight
Strake,
service right now.
and then the winner of that game, we would have an advantaged finals.
Yes.
Evan Hagen says avenge us.
Just a similar situation, bro.
If you
Flexed into prime time. Or prime time, bro. We got flexed into prime time.
Are you excited?
You know who prime time is? Deion Sanders.
Are you excited? Yeah. Are you excited, Jacob? Yeah.
no.
Buzz. I didn't do it last game.
Can we get new? Can we get new buzzers? Some crazy, bro.
Wait, our sound is the high pitch sound,
What
right?
place did Livy get last year?
Yeah. Not yet. Just fucking do it. Fuck it.
I'm Melody. I'm a sophomore.
Audie.
Sure.
To be safe, fun fact. So,
Alvan.
Justin.
Max.
Kang.
Jacob.
Hey,
Let's go.
Let's go.
Lock it.
Hey. It's all us. Okay, it's all us. Play the game.
Is that better? Hey, look at that. When you use the microphone, it makes you louder. All right.
I know. Let that go.
Yeah, I'm Rob
Be
Carson, former PACE Emeritus member. I do Quiz Bowl. All right. I believe I am all set to go. Are both teams ready to begin?
Let's go.
Yes.
Excellent. Good luck, everyone. Start with toss-up number one. Okay, just kidding. Now what's happening? There we go. Start with toss-up number one. For over 700 years, Jerusalem's Razuk family has sold these things to Armenian pilgrims. The future King George V started a trend for these things after buying one from Tokyo's Karakusa Gonta. Nora Hildebrandt was one of the first ladies nicknamed for having many of these things who performed at circuses. Sailor Jerry's old-school designs for these things often featured anchors. The English word for these things is a Samoan loanword. In Japan, samurai-themed examples of these things are linked with being in the Yakuza.
Tattoo.
For 10.
Nice.
Tattoos is correct.
Tattoo.
10 for Alvan, and your bonus Lexington. The Minimax algorithm is often impractical for types of these data structures with large branching factors. For 10 points each, name these structures, often used to represent all possible states of sequential games. These acyclic graphs contain root and leaf nodes.
Wait, it's not payoff matrix. Tree? Yeah, tree?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
The Minimax algorithm performs this type of search on game trees, which involves backtracking while traversing every branch as far as possible, unlike an alphabetically earlier type of search.
Oh wait, binary search. Binary?
It's a
Search?
depth-first search, rather than breadth-first.
Oh shoot.
Implementation of Minimax is improved by an algorithm named for both this technique and two adjacent Greek letters. This technique removes undesirable subtrees from consideration.
Alpha beta pruning.
Nice.
Good.
You get 20 points. Toss up 2. Samples are nebulized, undergo this process, and are then filtered through a skimmer cone in a technique that can detect metals at part per trillion concentrations. This process is performed on samples in atomic emission spectroscopy using an ICP. In a common setup for gas chromatography, eluted analytes undergo this process before being detected by an ionization.
Mass spec?
No. Nothing there. By an ionization detector. The D lines of sodium are filtered out using cobalt blue glass in a technique that relies on this process, which first dips the sample in nichrome wire and produces a red color when performed on lithium. For 10 points, samples can be identified by performing what process in a device named for Robert Bunsen? That's fine, yeah. Just combustion, burning, becoming a fire.
Are you nervous?
You get 10 points, and this bonus. In The Signifying Monkey, Henry Louis Gates Jr. analyzes a scene in which this man holds a book up next to his ear, expecting it to talk. For 10 points each, name this author whose interesting narrative describes hardships he experienced on the Middle Passage, as well as his subsequent travels to Turkey and the North Pole.
Defer. What's his name? Ibn Battuta.
That's Alauda Equiano. Okay. In the collection, The Classic Slave Narratives, Gates collected Equiano's interesting narrative along with this man's story of his escape from slavery in Baltimore. This author of What to the Slave is the 4th of July published the North Star.
Douglas.
Yes. That collection also includes Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, written by an author with his first name and the last name Jacobs. Gates rediscovered the first African-American novel published in the U.S. by an author with his first name.
Harriet, right?
Sure.
Harriet.
Go.
Harriet?
Yes,
Good
20
job,
points.
good job.
Toss-up 3. This painting's erotic symbolism may have been inspired by a Jacques Degaine print whose subject helps a crossbowman. X-ray scans of this painting revealed that it was decluttered by removing a plank with knobs or a tub for holding clothes. A basket and copper pail in this painting hang next to a window on its left side, a frequent light source for its artist. 20 points.
Good job.
20 for Max, and your bonus Strake. Wolfram Eberhard described the Cold Food Festival as a remnant of a prehistoric version of this holiday. 10 points each, name this holiday, which in China is often celebrated with longevity noodles and the gifting of red cash-filled envelopes.
Birthday.
One more time.
Birthday.
That's the New Year.
Well, my Chinese.
In one of these celebrations for Shitala, families avoid lighting their stoves and eat cold food to prepare for summer as a form of prasada, which is a type of offering made in front of a murti during these observances.
So, like, what's this, like, Hindu worshipping?
Excuse me.
Puja.
One more time?
Puja.
Yes.
Good job.
Some Buddhists adhere to a prohibition on cold drinks that may have originated in this South Asian medicine system, which postulates 3 doshas and 5 elements.
Okay.
It's called Ayurveda.
Okay, that's my
10 on the bonus. Here is toss-up number 4. Description required. In this place, one character recounts a dream about twisty things among trees. A creature that bulged like a great ape, sitting asleep with its head between its knees, is seen in a patch of ashes in this place. A character who is seen expanding like a balloon declares, "I'm the reason why it's no-go," and says, "We are going to have fun in this place."
The island from Lord of the Flies.
20 points.
Nice.
And your bonus, Lexington. In 2024, Kaido Parames found the wreck of the airplane Kaleva after it was shot down over a gulf named for this country. 10 points each, name this country. Before the Soviets shot it down, the Kaleva was headed to this country's capital of Helsinki.
Finland.
Yes. Part of this region was ceded to the Soviets at the end of the Winter War, so the Soviets could have greater access to the fishing waters of Lake Ladoga.
Karelia.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Karelia is right. The Winter War was partly instigated due to a non-aggression pact, partly named for this Soviet politician. This Soviet, who was banished to Mongolia, was denounced as part of the anti-party group.
Yeah. Molotov.
Vyacheslav Molotov,
Nice.
30 points on the bonus. Here is
Nice.
toss-up number 5. An embellished account by this historian claims that when a noblewoman's enemies threatened to kill her children, she raised her skirt and said, "I have the tools to make more." This historian claimed that Agathocles of Syracuse's excessive brutality kept him from achieving glory. After the republic he worked for was overthrown, this historian was placed under house arrest and wrote a treatise dedicated to his new ruler. This author's commentary on Ab Urbe...
Cotilia.
No. It is not Cotilia. Ab Urbe Condita defends Republican government, contrary to a work of his that compares fortune to a woman who must be beaten and praises Cesare Borgia. For 10 points, name this Florentine historian who wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved" in The Prince.
Machiavelli.
Machiavelli is correct.
Better be PSS.
Your bonus Strake. A model with this first name and the surname Sims was the first black woman on the cover of Ladies' Home Journal. 10 points each, give this first name shared by a black British supermodel who was Gianni Versace's first bridal dress model and who tripped at a 1993 Vivienne Westwood show.
Like, Naomi.
Naomi.
Defer.
Naomi.
Nice.
Naomi is right. This designer threatened to pull all funding from the French edition of Vogue if they refused to put Naomi Campbell on its cover. This student of Christian Dior designed the Le Smoking tuxedo for women.
No, it's a Saint Laurent. That's what I said. Oh, I can't. My mom.
Answer.
Saint Laurent.
Yes. Naomi Sims developed Conicolon Pressel fiber for her namesake brand of these accessories, which may be made out of synthetic or real hair, like a toupee.
Wigs.
Yes.
All 30.
30 on the bonus. Toss up 6. Both suns and these objects are described as being lured or coaxed out by joy in the 4th stanza of Ode to Joy. After one of these objects appeared in a dream sequence in the novel Heinrich von Ofterdingen, romantic poets adopted it as a symbol of longing.
Flower.
20 points.
Nice.
It's the blue flower. Your bonus, Lexington. In rare cases, the keloid type of these structures arises from intradermal inoculation. 10 points each. Name these permanent accumulations of tissue left after a wound heals.
Scar.
Yes. A bacterial clade and 2 French scientists give the acronymic name of an intradermal vaccine against this disease, which can cause false positives in the Montu test for this disease.
TB.
The clade 2B strain of this disease prompted the FDA to grant emergency approval to transdermal inoculation with the Jynneos vaccine in 2022. This disease presents with fever, myalgia, and a characteristic rash that evolves over 2 to 4 weeks.
Lupus.
This is Mpox.
Good 20.
20 on the bonus. Toss-up 7. Henry of Champagne claimed he saw a leader of this group order 2 of its members to prove their loyalty by jumping off a cliff. This group left a cake at the bedside of a rival to intimidate him into withdrawing his forces. The Mongols held a leader of this group hostage before Hulegu Khan sacked their fortress of Alamut in his conquest of Nizari.
Assassins.
20 points.
Nice.
Your bonus, Lexington. In a variant in this genre, the main Shite actor begins as a warrior ghost who's fallen into the underworld and must plead his case for release. 10 points each. Name this genre, which features comedic Kyogen performances during planned intermissions between acts.
No.
Yes. The main Shite actor in No typically wears these objects traditionally carved from Hinoki cypress. These objects are often swapped to emphasize degrees of the emotion they express.
Masks.
Yes. In a core No play, a gardener is tricked into believing that one of these objects will signal a rendezvous with an imperial consort, but commits suicide and haunts the consort after realizing he was tricked.
Jewelry.
It's a drum. It's called the Damask drum. 20 on the bonus. Here's toss of 8. A knot garden is featured in a larger period-appropriate garden named for this man, designed by Jens Jensen at Northwestern University. A John Quincy Adams Ward sculpture of this man in New York draws from the Chandos portrait. A building named for Angus Baumer was constructed to meet demand for a summer festival named for this man in Ashland, Oregon. A nonprofit named for this man got around opposition from Robert Moses to construct the Delacorte in Central Park used for free performances. The Huntington Library in San Marino, California owns 4 copies of this man's first folio.
Shakespeare.
Yeah. Your bonus, this process's namesake matrix includes source, message, and channel variables. 10 points each. Name this process. Robert Cialdini tested the door-in-the-face strategy and included social proof as one of 6 principles of this process.
Status.
Go.
Status.
Persuasion. Social proof exemplifies this phenomenon in which people choose to fit in. A Solomon Asch experiment involving 3 lines found that this phenomenon can override individual judgment.
Conformity.
Muzafer Sharif studied conformity in this experiment that helped develop realistic conflict theory. This experiment divided 22 boys into 2 groups in a namesake Oklahoma park.
Robber's Cave.
20 on the bonus. Toss up 9. Description acceptable. According to Plutarch's Life of this object's owner, Scyrus of Salamis was chosen to control this object due to Athenians lacking the skills at the time. Executions were banned during an annual tradition of taking this particular object to Delos, which delayed Socrates' death, according to Phaedo. Plutarch recounts how this object was preserved for that tradition by having decaying parts of it replaced. The Aegean Sea is named for a king who killed himself after he saw parts of this
Theseus's ship.
Yes.
Nice.
10 for Justin. And your bonus, Strake. In this piece's F minor first movement, the 2 soloists enter with a melodic sequence in stretto, resulting in a chain of suspensions. 10 points each. Name this sacred piece that Neapolitan composer Giovanni Battista Pergolesi wrote for soprano, alto, strings, and continuo while dying of tuberculosis.
Go. Funeral Mass.
The Stabat Mater. Pergolesi's Stabat Mater ends with a long fugue on this 2-syllable word, which often names plagal cadences, and ends Gregorian chants.
Amen. Amen.
Yes. Pergolesi's Stabat Mater overshadowed a prior setting by a composer from this family who founded the Neapolitan school and helped develop the Da Capo aria. A member of this family wrote 555 keyboard sonatas.
Yes.
Scarlatti.
Yes, 20 on the bonus. Toss of 10, after which is halftime. This scientist is the alphabetically ladder namesake of a theory in which a particle's motion depends on the positions of all other particles, as expressed in the guiding equation. This scientist developed the first deterministic hidden variable theory. In this scientist's generalization of the Planck relation, momentum is proportional to the vector k. This scientist's pilot wave theory was revived by David Bohm. This scientist was validated by observations of electron diffraction in the Davison-Germer experiment.
De Broglie?
Louis de Broglie. 10 points.
Yeah.
Your bonus, Strake. This man turned down a $3 million contract extension with the Arizona Cardinals to join the Army following 9/11. 10 points each. Named this soldier whose death in Afghanistan in April 2004 led the military to spread false narratives of a Taliban ambush.
Tillman.
Yes. Tillman was posthumously awarded this medal given to soldiers wounded or killed in combat and named for the physical form of its predecessor, the Badge of Military Merit.
Purple Heart.
Yes. This senator accused the Army of an inexcusable cover-up regarding Tillman's death. This man received a Purple Heart for his service in Vietnam, where his time as a POW left him unable to raise his arms, above his head.
McCain.
For 30.
Nice.
At the half, I have a score of Strake 170, Lexington 190.
Okay.
Very good game so far. We'll have a short break.
Just practice, okay? Just 10 top. Just practice.
The second line of the Shakespeare was in the afternoon, like the portrait of HSNCT.
Oh, was it?
Looking for. Yeah, Sean does.
Like,
that's where Spencer got it.
And it's like the places they're getting it are just like just clips.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like they're like
Shakespeare.
You know, like I feel like they're too afraid to like.
Great. Both teams ready to continue?
Yeah. But like if they just start doing it.
Great.
Okay,
Good luck. We'll resume with toss-up 11. Description acceptable. They're not clergy, but Marsh v. Chambers upheld a practice regarding these groups. A theory regarding these groups, which was based on William Rehnquist's opinion in Bush v. Gore and rejected in Moore v. Harper, claims that they are independent. Chafalo v. Washington expanded these groups' rights, some of which stem from Article 1, Section 4. Before the ruling in Shelby County v. Holder, these groups' powers were limited by...
Jury?
Nope. No penalty there. Continuing, by pre-clearance. These bodies choose the times, places, and manner of congressional elections. The 17th Amendment ended these bodies' selection of U.S. senators. Exactly one of these bodies is unicameral. For 10 points, name these bodies that meet in places like Richmond and Sacramento.
State legislature.
Yes,
Let's
for
go.
10.
Juries.
Your bonus, Strake. Elizabeth McGrath analyzed how an artist with this first name whitewashed Andromeda as she stands amongst black attendants in a 1510 painting of Perseus on a sea monster. 10 points each. Give this first name, shared by a Renaissance artist who depicted Jesus carrying a banner and stepping over a sarcophagus and sleeping guards in The Resurrection.
Guys. Go.
Piero. It's Piero di Cosimo and Piero della Francesca. A whitewashed Queen of Sheba appears in a Claude Lorraine landscape titled for this type of event. Aristocrats travel to Venus's birthplace in an Antoine Watteau painting titled for one of these events.
Embarkation.
Yes. This artist's posy paintings whitewashed Andromeda, but featured various black attendants in scenes like Diana and Actaeon. This artist painted Venus of Urbino.
Go.
Titian.
Yes.
Good job.
For 20 on the bonus. Toss of 12. This author drew on the modernist style of Finnegan's Wake in a novel centered around the construction of El Escorial. The narrator of one of this author's novels refuses to testify to Congress and argues that they must learn to live with the central setting rather than to save it. This author copied the structure of Tristram Shandy for a novel in which the title character's parents schemed to have him born on the 500-year anniversary of Columbus's arrival in the Americas. One of this author's characters, who carries a copy of Don Quixote, falls in love with Harriet
Bierce.
No.
Oh, that was pretty bad.
Bierce is not correct. It is killed by General Arroyo. For 10 points, name this author who fictionalized Ambrose Bierce's life in Mexico in The Old Gringo.
Fuentes.
Fuentes is correct for 10.
Hey, you're fine. Good cleanup.
Your bonus, Eduard Macuca Incoloso recruited the so-called Afronauts from this modern-day country to convert Martians to Christianity. 10 points each. Name this country that was ruled by Frederick Chiluba, who was raised in its economically important Copperbelt district.
Zambia.
Yes. Kenneth Kaunda changed Zambia's name from a northern region with this other name. A leader of the ZANU-PF fought in a bush war in a region with this name.
Rhodesia.
The 1974 Lusaka Accord granted independence to this formerly Portuguese nation on Africa's southeast coast. Frelimo forces fought in this country's capital of Maputo.
Mozambique.
30 points.
Good cycle.
You're good, Jacob. You're good.
13. These systems are the typical holders of high values of Gaia's Rui statistic. Blue stragglers may form from these systems following the development of a common envelope. X-ray emissions result from the asymmetry of a compact object in these systems whose mass is typically measured up to a factor of the sine of the inclination angle. The contact type of these systems...
Binary systems?
Yes.
Nice.
20 points.
Good. Okay. We like for second line.
Bonus Lexington, a boy stands on this kind of deck whence all but he had fled in Felicia Heyman's poem Casabianca. 10 points each. Name this event, which titles a poem whose narrator is woken by thundering noise. A villanelle states that old age should do this action and rave at close of day.
This is do not go gent. Die.
Burn. Burning. This Welsh poet of A Refusal to Mourn the Death by Fire of a Child in London wrote Old age should burn and rave at close of day in Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night.
Thomas.
Yes. This poet wrote My pleasant things in ashes lie in verses upon the burning of our house. This poet addressed her work as a rambling brat and ill-formed offspring of my feeble brain.
Bradstreet.
One more time.
Bradstreet.
Yeah, 20 points.
Yes. That's it, cool.
2014, these people's attire included symbolic red and white ribbons accompanying a veil called a suffibulum. These people were tasked with mixing salt and emmer to make the bread mola salsa. Plutarch described how these people were punished for incestum by being buried alive.
Like Vestal Virgin.
Yeah, 20
Nice.
points.
Oh my God.
20 points for Justin.
That's a word, buddy.
Your bonus strike, Isaiah Berlin's characterization of a hedgehog knowing one big thing inspired the title of this philosopher's essay, Do Values Conflict? A Hedgehog's Approach. 10 points each. Name this legal philosopher who advocated for a theory of law as integrity in his book, Law's Empire.
Okay.
Go.
Ronald Dworkin. Dworkin argued that moral values interdependence forms one big thing in a book titled for this concept for hedgehogs. John Rawls wrote a theory of this concept. Yes. Dworkin's analysis of what underlies this concept in Justice for Hedgehogs discusses Berlin's distinction between its positive and negative types. A book titled for this concept coined the harm principle.
Okay, go.
Liberty.
Nice. Let's go.
20 on the bonus. Also 15, these things inspired a hillbilly jump blues song written by Milt Gabler and recorded by Louis Jordan in 1946. A riff from Happy-Go-Lucky Local.
Train.
That's a very good bonus.
Good choice.
You get 20 points.
Do you know?
Yeah, our trains. And Lexington, you get a bonus. Topological insulators conduct in these regions via a correspondence co-named for them. 10 points each. Name these regions whose namesake conditions are exemplified by the no-slip condition and the requirement that the wave function outside of a material equals 0.
Boundaries?
One more time.
Boundaries?
Yes.
Good.
This technique uses tapping and contact modes to map the surface of a material by running a piezoelectric tip at the end of a cantilever over the surface and measuring the tip's deflection.
AFM?
Yes.
Good.
Band bending occurs at the edges of p-type and n-type semiconductors when they are joined in the bipolar junction type of these small switches found on microchips.
Transistors?
For 30 points.
Good cycle.
At the three-quarter mark, I have a score of Lexington 320, Strake 240. We're good?
We're fine.
All right. Continuing with toss-up 16. A Richard Wilbur essay connects this story to its author's sonnet about a bird whose wings are dull realities. A man in this story thinks one event is wind in the chimney, a mouse crossing the floor, or a cricket which has made a single chirp. This story's narrator says, object, there was none. Passion, there was none. And says how cunningly he slowly opens a door and peeks his head through. After 3 police officers arrive at his house, this story...
The Telltale Heart.
10 points.
Good job. I should have read all of it.
Your bonus strike. While at the Cape of Good Hope, John McDonald allegedly spotted one of these objects that was lost due to a vision obstruction by storms. 10 points each. Name these vehicles whose ghost examples include the Mary Celeste and the Flying Dutchman.
Shit.
Yes. A legendary challenge atop Table Mountain involved Jan van Hunks and the Devil producing this substance. The Rainbow Crow in Lenape myth has his voice and feathers changed by this substance.
Like ash? No, wait, that doesn't make sense.
That makes sense. No, that makes sense. Go.
Light. Light.
Smoke or soot or ash.
Why you change your
My bad.
The legendary Grootslong is believed to live in a cave in the Northern Cape filled with these objects. In another myth, a character sees a valley full of these objects after tying his turban to a rock's leg.
Diamonds.
20.
Come on. Hey, trust yourself. Okay.
17. Cornell's Di Tommaso lab has pioneered the study of neutral communities of these organisms. These organisms are antagonized by substances classified into 27 modes of action by the IHRWD. These are the largest organisms removed via solarization with polyethylene covers. These organisms, which are contrasted with volunteers, are targeted by 2,4-D and atrazine. Secondary species evolved via the winnowing of species with this role, like Avena sterilis and Secale montanum, in instances of Vavilovian mimicry.
Predator?
No. These organisms are excluded from being made ready for Roundup, whose glyphosate content kills these organisms in a procedure developed by Monsanto. For 10 points, herbicides target what undesirable plants?
Weeds.
Weeds.
Good.
Is correct. Your bonus, Lexington. This company's 1904 Circular 57 helped popularize the CQD distress signal. 10 points each. Name this British telecommunications firm where John Ambrose Fleming developed the vacuum tube. George Bernard Shaw's The Music Cure references a scandal named for this company during the Asquith government.
Asquith. Bell? Culture.
Bell?
The Marconi Company.
My God.
Passengers on this ship could send Marconigrams, at least until it hit an iceberg on its maiden voyage on April 15th, 1912.
Titanic?
Yes. Marconi Research Lab employee Tony Sale led the construction of the Mark II Colossus computer at this center of British code breaking during World War II in Milton Keynes.
Bletchley Park?
Bletchley.
Bletchley Park.
20 points.
Great, yes.
Toss up 18. A symphony by this composer opens with a short brass fanfare before a choir outlines the striking chord change B-flat minor to D major. This composer adapted a song whose Phrygian melody begins E, G, G, long G, in a piece for double string orchestra with string quartet. This composer's 7th symphony, which uses a wind machine and word...
Rafe Vaughan Williams?
20 points.
Yes!
Is it over? Is it done?
Your bonus, this term derives from a period in Greek mythology during which humans and gods lived together. 10 points each give this term for periods considered high points in a country's literary history, such as a Spanish period during which Miguel de Cervantes wrote.
Golden Age?
Yes. Dutch Golden Age author Johan van Heemskerk wrote a book about a Batavian version of this place. The mythical Golden Age was said to have occurred in this place, which early modern writers depicted as a utopia inhabited by shepherds.
Oh, Arcadia, right?
That makes sense.
Arcadia?
Yes.
Nice.
In this book, often considered the first major prose novel of the Russian Golden Age, an archetypal superfluous man duels with Grushnitsky on a cliff.
Is it just Eugene Onegin?
I don't know.
Eugene Onegin.
This is a hero of our time.
Okay.
You certainly
my bad.
can. Going into 19, the score is 390 for Lexington, 270 for Strake.
We lost.
All right, I will.
Well, it's still heading at the toss.
Boy. Toss-up 19. On December 11th, 2024, a group in Bhopal broke the world record for doing this activity with the Karma Yoga. This activity is both facilitated by, and in itself the best way to understand, the contents of the Samaveda. In a practice called japa that is...
Like singing?
Yes.
It's the music one.
It's the
20
music.
points.
Singing.
Good work.
Well, that required such a long answer line.
Getting out of the system.
Here is your bonus. Lexington, a South African dog named Killer won the Dickon Medal for helping to catch 115 people engaging in this crime. 10 points each. Name this crime militarily combated in a fortress strategy practiced in Botswana. Richard Leakey staged the first ceremonial fire to burn objects commonly targeted in this crime.
Okay. Smuggling?
Poaching. This actor produced the documentary Virunga about poaching in the DRC. This actor was interviewed by the FBI for links to the 1MDB scandal after starring in The Wolf of Wall Street.
DiCaprio?
Yeah, DiCaprio.
DiCaprio?
Yes. This group, led by Ahmad Umar, gets some of its funding from Conflict Ivory. This Al-Qaeda affiliate once ran a COVID treatment facility in Jalib in Middle Juba.
Juba? Maybe Janjaweed? I don't know. Janjaweed?
Al-Shabaab.
Well, that's fine.
10 on the bonus. And the last toss-up. By 1830, 2/3 of all slaves in northern states lived in this state, whose extremely gradual abolition law was not fixed until 1846. In 1807, this state removed voting rights granted to some of its women. This state's Liberty Hall was once the home of a governor who succeeded its Tory colonial governor, an illegitimate son of Ben Frank.
New Jersey?
20 points.
Good buzz.
That's tough.
Your bonus, Lexington. A formula for this quantity is carved on the gravestone of Ludwig Boltzmann. 10 points each. Name this quantity, which in the aforementioned formula is proportional to the log of the number of microstates. This quantity measures the amount of disorder in a system.
Entropy?
Yes. Try again. This statement states that the entropy of a closed system approaches a constant value as temperature approaches absolute zero.
Oh, the third law of thermodynamics. The third law of thermodynamics?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
This scientist was the first to formulate the third law of thermodynamics using his namesake heat theorem.
Ernst.
This scientist names an equation that can be derived from the Butler-Volmer equation by setting the reaction rate to 0.
Ernst.
30 points.
Nice.
That is the game. The final score, 470 Lexington, 270 Strake. There will be more. Join us again after a lunch break. Oh, yes. If you'd like to be briefly interviewed after the match, talk to Samir over there. He's the one waving that. Also, we need someone from each team to still sign the sheet. And don't forget your name tags, though. You'll be back here, so you can probably forget your name tags.
Well, exciting stuff here in the Rosemont Ballroom. We have a final score of 470 for Lexington to 270 for Strake Jesuit A. Again, up until the end, pretty close game, but they clinched it in those last couple of toss-ups. And we've got an interview with Lexington from our colleague Samir right now.
Anything?
All right, we're going to cut back to us for a quick technical fix, but it seems like it's been resolved, so we're going to head back to Samir. Thanks for your patience.
Would it be a normal single final?
I don't know.
I feel like I should tell my mom this.
Again, how does it feel to be playing the same team, and what are you going to do to prepare for the match?
I mean, we've played Strake Jesuit a good number of times, so we're kind of familiar with how they play, and I think they're familiar with us. So I don't think we're going to be doing anything on like the strategy side, just kind of going in with a clear head, I guess.
We know what we're strong at, so we're gonna play to our advantages and do our best to, do our best and win.
Oh yeah, I think you have some good momentum going into this next game.
Yeah, I think we're all friends with the guys on Strake, so just like coming in and doing our stuff.
That's awesome. All right, I'll let you all go. Thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed, and back to you, Chloe and Andrea.
All right, everybody. Again, you just heard from Lexington. They're from Massachusetts. Brief personal note. I spent 6 years of my life in Somerville, Mass, right next door to Lexington, but currently I'm living in Texas, so this final matchup is really a win-win for me.
Really, I am embarrassed to admit that I was born in Boston. I try not to.
Heck yeah, dude.
It, but no Texas connections here. But I will say, just really, really impressive of Lexington, just pulling away in that last third of the game, a dominant 7 or 8 toss-up stretch to force a final.
Absolutely, and we're going to bring you that final after a quick lunch break. We'll be back with you soon. Thank you so much for being with us today.